And now, good mic work commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
Happy SummerSlam week. What's going on, guys? And welcome to your Winged Eagle Podcast for July 31st, 2023. Final day of the month. Tomorrow is August, and this Saturday is WWE SummerSlam. So this was the Go Home Raw tonight. We are here to review the show and take a look at the updated SummerSlam card as it stands right now. And we're going to talk about some wrestling news. We're going to talk about this past Saturday's AEW Collision with CM Punk spray painting the belt, the big FTR, MJF, and Adam Cole tag team title match. We'll look ahead to this Wednesday's Dynamite. We'll take a look ahead to All In. Still no matches announced, although CM Punk finally did mention it on Collision on Saturday. So we'll talk about the possibilities of main events, title unifications, things like that for AEW. We'll also talk a little bit about the Cody Rhodes American Nightmare documentary, which is available on Peacock as of today. I'm yet to watch it, but I will be watching it tonight after the podcast. But I am going to comment on Triple H's comments in the documentary calling AEW a second-rate company when Cody did talk about AEW. I saw the little clip floating around social media today, so we'll talk about that. We got a little bit of news on Vince McMahon, Christian, Jade, Cargill, and anything else you guys want to talk about in the chat. So that's what we got going on tonight. Hopefully you guys are having a great Monday. It's going to be a busy week here on the channel. I already have the entire week of links up and posted right on my YouTube page. You can just click right over there. You'll see all 4 of the links that are up, of course, including tonight's podcast. And this Thursday, we will be doing our SummerSlam predictions. So on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, we'll be up here to predict the entire 2023 SummerSlam card, and we will review the previous night's Dynamite 200 coming up on Wednesday, and I will offer you my review and my thoughts on Becoming Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare documentary that is available on Peacock. Like I said, right now, I will be checking that out later tonight with Elizabeth, and I will give you guys my full thoughts on that on Thursday. But like I said, I will be commenting a little bit on what Triple H had to say about AEW and how I think this is really a non-story, but people wanted to make it one, so we're going to make it one later on. That's kind of what is on tap here for tonight, but for the rest of the week, it's all about SummerSlam. So predictions will be on Thursday, and then on Saturday, I did decide to do a live reaction. I wasn't sure if I would come up and do just a review or a live reaction or try to do both, but SummerSlam's a big show. The card looks fun. Might be fun just to come up here and do a live reaction, hang out with you guys, and make a day of it. So that is the plan for Saturday. And then on Sunday, we will be back up here for yet another classic pay-per-view watch-along. But now that we're done with SummerSlams, we're going to move into some WCW shows, and we're going to watch Bash at the Beach 1998, the one with Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman. Bash at the Beach 2000 is the subject of tomorrow's Dark Side of the Ring, but I didn't really want to watch that pay-per-view because I don't like it. So we're going to watch Bash at the Beach 1998 instead. And also on Thursday during the predictions video, you'll probably also get comments about the Bash at the Beach Dark Side of the Ring episode, which airs on Vice tomorrow. So that's kind of what to expect for the rest of the week. And tonight here on the podcast should be a fun one. Hopefully you guys are having a great night. Live audiences have been way down. Subscribers and overall views have been way up. So the channel's acting funny right now. So since the live numbers are a little bit low, I could really use some likes. Please give this video a like, show some engagement in the chat, ask me a question, something like that would be great. And it definitely helps out the channel and it helps out the video. We'll do some shout outs here, say hello to anybody who is here, and then we will start getting into our Raw results. I guess the order in which we will do this tonight, we'll run through Monday Night Raw, I suppose, first. That way we don't get too sidetracked on the other stuff we're talking about. Knock that out. Maybe talk a little bit about SmackDown. Then we'll move into the wrestling news, and then we'll finish it up with AEW. That'll probably be the order in which we do things here tonight. So buckle up, I guess. Good to see everybody hanging out so far in the chat, starting with Joshua Aparicio, 11-month member. What's going on, dude? Dom should main event SummerSlam and do stand-up. Dominic's been cracking me up. He was doing that, that online Q&A or something the other day. And somebody asked him if he was ever going to reconcile with his father. And he's like, it's something that I think about every day. and I really wish I could, but unfortunately, my father is no longer with us. Rest in peace, Eddie. Fucking great. I think he even said that Rhea Ripley is his favorite snack. So Dominic right now is the man. He's all kinds of fun. Good to see Stone Cold 10X in here as well, along with David Brown. Good to see you, man. And Big J, Mike Rouse, and Ben Espinoza hanging out. More channel members like Isaac and How Wheezy are here. We got Deshaun Robinson as well. 7th season. We have Shell Shock, Rodrigo, Stephen Harris, King Azza. Who else we got in here? Looks like that's it for right now. So not a huge number in the chat, but keep talking, keep giving me your thoughts, and let me know what you thought of tonight's Monday Night Raw. Did you enjoy the show? Give me your number or letter grades, whatever you thought. I thought the show was fine for a go home. There were some surprising things, a couple of surprising things on Raw tonight too. I got to admit, I was really surprised with what they did with Becky and Trish. Because we've all just been assuming ever since fucking WrestleMania that we're going to have a Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus match at SummerSlam. And tonight they were doing a segment that I thought was going to confirm the match for SummerSlam because Trish beat Zoe last week, which earned her the right to face Trish again in a rematch. And we just assumed, because that's what we do, we assume that that match would just be for SummerSlam. But tonight on Raw, Adam Pearce tried to make the match for Raw. Zoe and Trish didn't allow that to happen, attacking Becky Lynch. So then backstage, Adam Pearce made the match again for 2 weeks from now in Winnipeg. So not even the Monday, not even next week, the post SummerSlam Raw, but the week after that in Winnipeg. So that's weird. I am surprised. Now, if they did Trish and Becky, that would put like 4, maybe not 4, I guess, a lot of women's matches on the show because I thought Rhea Ripley would be facing Raquel. It doesn't look like they've made that official either unless I missed it tonight. But if Trish and Becky would have gone on there, you would have had the 2 women's title matches and Shayna and Ronda and Trish and Becky. So did they really bump Trish and Becky? Are they really not going to have Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus at SummerSlam? You would think that's a match you would want on the card. So maybe they pull some shit this week. Maybe something happens on SmackDown. I doubt it, but maybe they do. I don't know. But as of right now, no Trish and Becky at SummerSlam. It's going to be in 2 weeks on Raw, which means for the moment, neither woman is booked for SummerSlam unless they do some sort of angle, segment, confrontation between the two at SummerSlam, and then they add a stipulation to that Raw match or something. I don't know. A little weird, not sure what to make of it, and I don't know what exactly they're going to do or book for SummerSlam, if anything, between these two now that they've made the match for Winnipeg. So that was a little bit confusing, but there was also some pleasant surprises, like the Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler hype package. That was good shit, highlighting their history, seeing both women break down in tears. I actually felt what Ronda was saying for the first time ever. Ronda actually shows emotion because she's not in the ring cutting a promo where she sucks. She's actually in an edited, video package environment where she was really able to come across meaningful. And it's really made me excited for this match. And I think this one's going to overperform at SummerSlam. And apparently it is going to be MMA rules. So we got a stipulation there, but we didn't. I thought we were going to get a stipulation in Trish and Becky. Not only did we not get a stipulation, we didn't even get a fucking match booked for SummerSlam between these two. And Cody and Brock, I thought for sure there was one more week left to make a stipulation. I thought tonight would have been it. And no stipulation in Cody and Brock either, despite how vicious their rivalry has been. So maybe Brock is just going to take a straight loss here. I thought it would be ambulance match, stretcher, last man standing, bull rope match, Texas bull rope match, something like that, to where Cody can kind of win, but I guess not. It's just going to be a straight up match there too. So it's weird. We'll talk about it here as we run through Raw, and let me know, like I said, what you guys thought of the show. I'll knock out any super chats that are here, and we will start with the Raw results, and then we will circle back, talk about some wrestling news and AEW. Chris Ludek, appreciate the 5 from you, man. With AEW, I feel it's hard to identify who the top face is right now. If they do a Punk versus MJF title for title match, could there be a double turn? That's looking way ahead, Chris. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about AEW in a little bit, but based on what we saw on Saturday on Collision, Adam Cole and MJF going into that tag title match, it was like AEW found themselves in a weird situation, and so did the fans. It's like on one hand, you don't want to see FTR lose the titles. but you also don't want to see MJF and Adam Cole's bromance come to an end either. And I was hoping they would figure out a way to have your cake and eat it too. Have FTR leave with the titles without having to break up Adam Cole and MJF quite yet, because I don't think they quite realized how great this was going to be. So naturally, you're going to want to run with it for a little bit longer. So since CM Punk now, we'll talk about it later, pulled out the AEW title out of the red bag, spray painted that bitch, called himself the real world's champion, mentioned Wembley. He even said, he goes, am I the first one to mention this damn show? 80,000 people? Like, I would like to be on that. So maybe if the initial plan, because I believe maybe originally the plan was to do Adam Cole and MJF for the championship, either at All In or at All Out. But now, given the fact that this friendship got so over, maybe they want to just extend it a little bit. It can't be extended forever. Eventually, you're going to have to do what you're going to have to do with those guys. But maybe if they want to extend it, and now MJF has to face CM Punk, and he can kind of have Adam Cole backing him up. And then you can do Adam Cole and MJF after the Punk match or after All In. So that's what it feels like they might be doing. And it might wind up being MJF and CM Punk at All In, or better yet, All Out, which would be in Chicago. I don't know what the right answer is yet, but it looks like this match that was going to happen between MJF and Adam Cole, it might not happen until September. Maybe Cole and MJF stay friends while MJF battles Punk. And then hell, who knows? Maybe even that could lead to an Adam Cole and CM Punk feud as well, a feud we've never gotten, and a feud that would be pretty damn good. And if you did a double turn, I would almost like to see MJF get turned on by Adam Cole. I'm kind of thinking that maybe Adam Cole is manipulating MJF, and I will talk about, I don't want to get too deep into this, but, Adam Cole has observed what MJF has done to other people, using people around him to get what he wants. And Adam Cole isn't going to allow himself to be victimized by that. So instead, he's going to flip the script on MJF and actually manipulate him. And MJF he's already made some comments like when they were playing video games about not having a lot of friends and whatnot. So now that he's finally found one, he can kind of let his guard down a little bit, and Adam Cole will be the one to turn on MJF, which would be karma for everything that MJF has done in his life, or in his wrestling career, turning on people and just befriending them temporarily for personal gain. So now if Adam Cole does that to him, and MJF finds himself the legitimate victim of something like that, because you can see now he's conflicted on Saturday. It's like fans are expecting him to turn, and he just can't do it. He actually does care about Adam Cole. And when you finally do the turn now on MJF, he's going to be the one to get sympathy. They're on the cusp of doing something pretty cool here. There's a lot of different factors at play. MJF, Cole, and CM Punk now with this real world's champion shit. You don't know what it's going to all lead to, but it should be a fun month, and AEW might want to start thinking about announcing some matches for Wembley. Just an idea, just a thought. You might just want to go into it and not tell us what's going to happen, but I would announce some matches if I were you. So hopefully, starting on Wednesday, we're going to get the groundwork really laid for All In and start actually announcing some matches for this damn thing. But we'll be getting into AEW here in just a bit. Let's start with Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw opened up with a nice memorial tribute to the exotic Adrian Street, who passed away today. Couple of deaths today. Paul Rubens, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman, also passed away. Adrian Street was a really interesting wrestler. I know we've talked about Adrian Street recently in the last couple of years on this channel. I've talked about my memories of him. He was one of those guys, one of those, Gorgeous George, Adrian Adonis, Gold Dust type of flamboyant characters that really kind of played mind games with their opponents and psyched them out and pushed, kind of the homophobic button really hard on them. And Adrian, what was unique about him, a lot like Adrian Adonis, is that Adrian was like from the UK and he was tough. So not only is he playing this flamboyant, prissy type of wrestler, but he's tough. And that's the way Adrian Adonis was. That's the way Goldust was. That's what makes some of these characters, these over-the-top flamboyant characters, so great, is because underneath that persona lies a pretty badass wrestler. And Adrian was really confusing to me as a kid. He was probably I have no idea exactly what number he is, but he's probably about the 7th wrestler that I was ever aware of. He was legitimately one of the first people I ever saw. I've told the story of the first wrestler I ever saw was Dusty Rhodes, choking out superstar Billy Graham in a magazine. But those magazines and those books that I would read as a kid, Exotic, Adrian Street was one of the first wrestlers I ever laid my eyes on. And I was like, who is that guy? And where is he wrestling? And why do I don't ever see him on TV? And in later years, being able to see footage of him and, in the territories that he worked, he was a really, really interesting wrestler. And for sure, somebody that made his mark because he never really came through WWE, and they did a nice tribute for him tonight. And I remember he proposed to his longtime manager and girlfriend at the Cauliflower Alley reunion, Cauliflower Alley Club reunion back in like 2005. They were together forever, and I do think he was battling cancer. So he was one of the more interesting wrestlers of the 70s and the 80s, and one of the first wrestlers that I ever saw as a kid. And I remember not quite understanding, like just being able to judge it by a picture, what that is, who that is, where he wrestles, and what his character is like. I always remember kind of just being a little bit confused by him as a 6-year-old looking at him in a magazine. But rest in peace to Adrian Street. There wasn't anybody like him. Today we lost 2 very, very unique people. Paul Rubens, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman, who was a special guest host on Raw one year, right? I think it's Lita, who's a big mark for Pee Wee Herman. So thinking about Lita today, also thinking about RJ City, who was a good friend with Paul Rubens as well, and has been posting things online all day, even with a couple of photos of him and David Arquette in some Pee Wee Herman trunks, which was awesome to look at. But Pee Wee Herman, man, Pee Wee's Big Adventure, the big movie, and then Pee Wee's Playhouse on during the day. I remember when I was a kid, Pee Wee Herman was everywhere. He was such a part of pop culture and mainstream in like 1985 and 1986. I remember when I was in the 3rd grade, the whole school, every kid would mimic his voice on the bus. Hey, I know you are, what am I? And all that shit. Like it was like the 90s, how every kid would do Beavis and Butthead, or, maybe in the 2000s, how every kid would impersonate Eric Cartman. It was Pee Wee Herman back in the 80s. And Pee Wee's Big Adventure was a fun movie. I still say, I know you are, but what am I to this day? I still reference Large Marge to this day. And Pee Wee Herman was a big, big deal in the 1980s. And he apparently released a statement last night right before he died. He didn't tell anybody that he was dealing with, I think it was cancer, right, for the last 6 years. And passed away yesterday. And I guess he technically does have a little bit of a wrestling connection as well, since he has been on Monday Night Raw before. So rest in peace to Paul Rubens, and rest in peace to the exotic Adrian Street. Very nice of WWE to pay tribute to him opening up Monday Night Raw. But we started out Raw in a really nice way, tributing and memorializing the Adrian Street. And then we open up with Logan, the douchebag Paul. He opens the show, comes to the ring, very, very loud boos, talks shit to Ricochet. Ricochet then comes out. They show a replay of their awesome Royal Rumble spot where they collided in the center of the ring. That was very cool. And Logan goes in to give him a fist bump, and I think Ricochet accepts. And then Logan, or maybe Ricochet is hesitant. And Logan, this was great. I love this. He mentions the ring announcer. He goes, at SummerSlam when I beat you, the ring announcer, who we all know is your fiance, is going to have to announce Logan Paul is the winner. And I thought that was a nice touch, referencing the relationship between Ricochet and Samantha Irving. And that's a pretty cool thing for Logan, a douchebag of his caliber, to do. After I beat you, not only am I going to beat you, but your girl is going to announce me as the winner. That's pretty awesome. That, of course, sparked the brawl. And I had a feeling that Logan was going to knock out Ricochet. I even kind of wrote it in my notes when Logan was making his way to the ring. I'm like, we're probably going to get a brawl here. And in the previous week, Logan went for the punch and missed. He's going to connect with one of them. He connects here, knocks Ricochet out, which if you do the babyface and heel math here, Logan getting the last word on Raw, I was kind of thinking that Logan would win this match against Ricochet. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he actually loses to Ricochet at SummerSlam. Not sure yet. We'll predict that on Thursday, but maybe since Logan did knock Ricochet out here, maybe Ricochet will wind up beating Logan Paul at SummerSlam. We will have to see. First match we got was Matt Riddle taking on Ludwig Kaiser. Ludwig got the win there. Imperium was out there ringside fucking everything up, so not a big surprise there. You know, Riddle is kind of just treading water right now after everything that was going on with him and his suspension and all of that. He's just back, but not doing a whole lot. So he took an L here to Ludwig. One of my favorite matches of the night and rapidly becoming one of my favorite women wrestlers is Maxine. I am loving her with Alpha Academy. It's such a good fit. When she showed up as that Maxine Dupree model shit, I mean, I barely even paid attention to her, didn't know her name, didn't even notice she was there because it was just such a bland gimmick that I just wasn't interested in. She really blossoms in this Alpha Academy. She reminds me of the little one in Chase U, who I also really like. They're both really fun. Thea Hale. They're both really fun. And Maxine is just fun. And I love her ring gear. It's different. It's sexy. It looks good. And I commented on that tonight on Twitter. And somebody was like, no, she makes her own shit. So that makes me even more impressed with her that she designs all that stuff. So she's taken on Valhalla. I forgot how you say Sarah Logan's Viking name. So we get a one-on-one match between these two. This is Maxine's singles debut, I think. And she wins the match with a queen suplex, almost like has Valhalla up on her shoulders. Valhalla was on the ropes, I think. And then Maxine comes up from behind her, picks her up kind of like electric chair-like, and then just falls back, but stays with her into a bridge, into a pinning combination, and gets the win. So she beats Valhalla. And she was extremely happy after the win. They celebrated together with Alpha Academy. And if we ever get some crossover between Alpha Academy and Chase U, that's going to be some money right there. But very happy for I almost called her Vaccine. For Maxine, who beats Sarah Logan here in a fun match, and good for her. I am loving me some Maxine Dupree, and I didn't think I would even care about her. Didn't even think I would recognize that she existed when she first came in, and now she's one of my favorite people to watch on Raw. She is so fun. Good for you, girl, beating Sarah Logan, excuse me. After that, we had a Judgment Day promo. They're all out there looking badass. I loved the shot of them coming through the entrance, especially Rhea. She is just an absolute physical freak of nature. Love Rhea Ripley. They all get in the ring. They all talk. It's Damian Priest first. Oh, I got the briefcase. I'm the best. Finn Balor. Oh, I'm going to be the next world heavyweight champion. I'm the best. Rhea Ripley. Oh, I'm going to be Rhea Ripley. I'm the best. And then Dominic, they pass the mic to him, and the crowd immediately just starts losing their mind. So every Judgment Day member got a chance to talk. And the minute Dominic's fingers touched that microphone, the arena exploded. Completely exploded. Boos, 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 boos. He can't barely get a word out. Rhea grabs the microphone back and starts talking shit about Raquel. And then Raquel's music hits. She runs out there, brawl. She starts kicking Rhea Ripley's ass. Dominic comes in to distract Raquel a little bit, and then Rhea clips Raquel from behind, taking out her knee, which is the injured body part that's been plaguing her the last couple of weeks. And help me out. Did I miss something here with Rhea and Raquel? Did they announce a SummerSlam match? Because whenever they do a brawl like this and then they like go back to the trainer's room, like I don't watch any of that. It's just, I can't. It's just the worst acting. So I do think they went to the back and checked on Raquel, but I didn't see what happened. I don't know if Adam Pearce made the match for SummerSlam, because I was feeling like that's what we were going to get. We were going to get Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez at SummerSlam, but we might not get that at all. Do I have that right? So not only might we not get Becky and Trish, we're not going to get Rhea and Raquel either. I thought we would get both. So help me out. Let me know if I'm missing something there. Here's a women's match at SummerSlam that I'm really looking forward to. Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey. They had a couple of different hype packages for this match. The first one is where they announced the MMA rules stipulation. So we figured we might get a fight pit, a lion's den, something like that with these two. And it will in fact be MMA rules. And I'm not really a big fan of trying to have an MMA match, a worked MMA match. It's just really, really, really hard to pull off. And I usually don't think those things come off very well. It's a little bit better if you have a fight pit and you've got a cage and then you can book it more pro wrestling. But if they're just going to be in the ring and they're not going to have any sort of octagon unless they're going to take the ropes down for this, I don't think they're going to do anything like that and put up a cage. They might put a cage around there. I don't know what the fuck they're going to do. But like, does that mean they're going to have a different type of referee? Are we going to score this thing? Is it going to be a knockdown, takedown? Are we going to have rounds? If it's MMA rules, what exactly does that entail? And I just hope it comes off well, because I feel like these two, just given just a regular old wrestling match, might deliver pretty well. Putting a stipulation in there could handcuff them a little bit, but based on the hype packages that we saw, especially that second one, that's good shit. I actually really legitimately am invested in this, even though it feels like they rushed it. They definitely rushed it with, I think it was Ronda's injury that, made it feel rushed, because I think maybe this was the plan for a while, but I think Ronda was injured, right? And then they didn't win the tag titles until Money in the Bank or whenever that was. And then they did the turn and boom, boom, boom. Now you have the match at SummerSlam. So maybe it would have been a slower build or slower burn had Ronda not been injured. But they've done a really good job of making you care, seeing all the photos, seeing the history between them, hearing Shayna talk about what Ronda did for her, almost kind of painted Ronda out to be a little bit Fabulous Moolah-ish, which I kind of liked, mentioning how, she didn't have any money and Ronda was kind of taking advantage of her while helping her out at the same time, that type of shit, and never said thank you or never did anything for her or whatever, basically was just holding her back so she didn't have to face her, that type of stuff. So they went into the history, and to see Ronda, break down in tears, this friend that she lost, that she has to go in now and fight with her bare hands and beat the hell out of, it was really emotional for her. And then Shayna, who was the one that did the turning, you could see the frustration and hear it in her voice too. And both women breaking down in the hype package, I thought was really, really well done. And it came off well, and it made me interested now in this match. I always was a little bit interested in the match because of, the belief that Ronda is probably on her way out and she wants to put her friend over on the way out the door. But the way they have made this feud feel now because of this video package, it's way smarter to do stuff like this with Ronda than having them in the ring, trying to tell this story in a promo battle. This is a much better way to tell the story with these two, because it made you believe and it made you care. And if these two women were trying to say this exact same shit in the ring in front of an audience, I wouldn't have cared. And I don't think a lot of other people would have either. So really good stuff there. Interested to see what Shayna and Ronda, what kind of match they wind up having at SummerSlam. Let me... Oh. Yeah, I'm trying to find this out myself. Okay, so yeah, you guys are saying that no, Rhea and Raquel was not announced, so I did not miss that. And yeah, y'all's guess is as good as mine here with why Trish and Becky were pulled from SummerSlam, if they in fact were pulled. But I feel like WWE's plan all along was to do that match at SummerSlam. So if WWE has changed their mind on Trish and Becky for SummerSlam, which it looks like they have because they booked the rematch for 2 weeks in Winnipeg, why? I want to know why. Does that mean Trish and Becky are not going to have any sort of, no appearances whatsoever at SummerSlam? They're not going to have anything to do with the show at all? That's really crazy. And if that's the case, it makes you wonder, there's got to be a reason for that, right? Not even booking them for SummerSlam the Monday after SummerSlam and then making them wait another 2 weeks. That surprises me. For two stars the caliber of Trish and Becky, what would lead to that decision? What happened? I'm curious. Maybe one of them might be hurt or something. I don't know. Maybe Becky's banged up. Maybe Trish is banged up. There was a couple of weeks ago where I think it was rumored that Becky wasn't going to be on the show because she was injured, and then she worked a match anyway. So maybe something's going on there. We don't know, but we'll have to keep our eye on it. I am curious as to why that doesn't look like it's going to happen anymore. And it doesn't look like Raquel and Rhea Ripley is going to happen either, unless they announced that one on social media this week, which I could see happening. They might just announce the match. Raquel has been cleared by doctors, so she wants a match with Rhea Ripley, and then they can do a couple of a TikTok challenge and a TikTok acceptance, and WWE plasters it all over their social media bullshit. Maybe they do that for them. But for Trish and Becky, what do? You've already made the match for Winnipeg on August 14th. So I don't know. I guess they, at least for the time being, are not going to be at SummerSlam. And if there is a news story, if Fightful posts any report about as to why that is, I will be interested to read that for sure. But Shayna and Ronda looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Backstage, Alpha Academy is interrupted by Imperium, and Maxine is celebrating her big victory. Gunther and Gable start jawing back and forth a little bit, and this leads to basically a 5-minute challenge between Gable and Gunther. So Gunther says he can beat Gable, and Gable says he can last the 5 minutes. No crew at ringside. Otis and Maxine and no Imperium members will be there, and it'll be Gable and Gunther later on. After that, we had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Tommaso Ciampa. They've been setting this up over the past couple of weeks, where Shinsuke's been getting into Ciampa's business, and this is a problem, and now Ciampa needs to solve the problem, all that crap. They have the match. Nakamura wins, rolling up Ciampa with a handful of tights, gets the victory, but gets the victory in a shady way, so they'll probably run this back next week on Raw, and neither man is booked at the moment for SummerSlam. After that, we get the big Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar confrontation, which we knew we were going to get. Both men were under the same roof, and I was hoping we were going to have like a stipulation that this match would lead to a stip between these two at SummerSlam, Hell in the Cell, bull rope match, something Dusty related is what I was hoping for here, but they teased us and we never got it. Even after this nonsense, a couple of segments later, we get Cody in the back doing a promo, and I thought there he would be like angry and suggest or pitch some crazy stipulation for the match, and we didn't get it there either. So this was just Brock coming out to the ring, cuts a promo and talks about how he's going to SummerSlam. He's paid to go to SummerSlam and fight Cody Rhodes. And as he's trying to cut this promo, these idiots are chanting, what, after every sentence. And Brock, you can just see, he's just like, you can see it in his eyes and in his face. In his head, he was probably like, these fucking morons. And so basically he kind of just changes his promo to just indulge these fuckers. So he's got to wait for them to do their stupid shit. And WWE, what, is going to pay me? What? And he just stops after every 2 words and just lets them do it. And he's basically telling the fans and showing them purposely how stupid the what chants are. And of course, not surprisingly, the fans are completely fucking clueless to it. So Brock just has to sit there and wait for them to whack off, and he does. Cody then comes out. He's dressed to fight. He gets in there. He doesn't charge the ring and attack, though. He gets in the ring instead, extends a handshake to Brock, which Brock accepts. They shake hands, and they just kind of stare at each other for a minute, and then Brock walks past him, but shoves his way through, just shoulder checks him as he walks past, leaves the ring, and as soon as Brock turns his back to get out of the ring, Cody starts hitting the ropes, and then when Brock jumps out of the ring, Cody is diving through the ropes to land on him. Perfectly timed. He lands on Brock, starts brawling with Brock. Brock immediately is able to turn the tables on Cody, posts him, throws him in the ring. I think he kicks his ass on the outside, leaves, comes back, hits Cody with a big F5 in the middle of the ring, and stands tall. So Cody and Brock at SummerSlam, I'm guessing Brock is just going to do the straight up job to Cody here. That's the way it feels. I feel like WWE isn't going to try to do anything too crazy here. The program between these two since WrestleMania hasn't been bad. I think a lot of fans didn't love it because of they were assuming that Cody was going to maybe continue his quest to win the title from Roman. And then the next night, they put him in a brand new feud now with Brock Lesnar. This whole thing is culminating here. We thought we might get a big stip or whatever, but maybe it doesn't need to be that deep. Maybe part of Cody's story is just straight up defeating this icon in the business, and this would be a big feather in Cody's cap to put down Brock. Everybody who has put down Brock in the past has gone on to be a pretty big star. And if Cody is going to be winning the title next year at WrestleMania, or maybe this year, maybe later this year, or whatever, this should be a match he wins. Now, we still have the cloud of Bray Wyatt hanging over our heads. I've talked about Cody in the past couple of podcasts. I've been wondering out loud what Cody is going to do after SummerSlam if he does in fact beat Brock Lesnar like we expect him to, and Brock goes back home for a few months to take his hiatus like he also tends to do. Where does that leave Cody? What does he do for the rest of the year? Because I have a feeling whatever goes on with Rollins and Balor, it's going to involve a Damian Priest cash-in either at SummerSlam or on Raw the next night or something. And it feels like the world title is going to be at least temporarily tied up with the three of those men. So if Cody hypothetically just beats Brock, Priest, Balor, and Seth are in their own world title program. So there's really no way for Cody to get in the mix of that unless he just shoehorns himself in. So if that's kind of temporarily tied up, what the hell does Cody do in September and October? Who does he wrestle on the next Saudi show? Who does he work with at Payback or whatever? Pay-per-view is next. What pay-per-view is in September? Probably not Night of Champions. I don't even know. But they're going to have some, maybe it's Great Balls of Fire. So what is Cody going to do? I've been asking that question a lot lately. And then when we hear the rumors of Bray Wyatt potentially returning and getting involved in one of the big matches at SummerSlam, of the three big main events, the two title matches and Cody and Brock, the only match for Bray Wyatt to interfere in that would make any sense at all would be the Cody and Brock match, just to give Cody a feud in the fall. But I don't want Cody to work with Bray Wyatt. I have no interest in seeing Cody Rhodes work with Bray Wyatt because of what a monumental letdown the Bray Wyatt shit was last year leading into this year. The White Rabbit and all that stuff was great, but once you got to the Mellow Yellow asshat match, fuck that, So I don't want anything to do with Bray Wyatt and Cody Rhodes. I just don't trust it. It has nothing to do with Bray Wyatt, his ability, Cody's ability, nothing like that. I just don't trust. I haven't trusted the Bray Wyatt character ever since the disqualification match in the Hell in the Cell against Seth Rollins. That killed it for me. And I have had a sour taste in my mouth ever since. So I just don't want to run the risk of ruining Cody with a feud like that. So I don't know. I'd much rather see Randy Orton come back and attack Cody Rhodes, and then we get Cody and Orton playing off all their history from Legacy and shit like that. Then you can get a feud with those guys. I'd much rather see that and have Cody go on this run of, beating Brock and then Randy Orton, and then maybe he can even get a match with John Cena and beat him too before finally getting to Roman Reigns somehow. But that's way in the future. Don't know what Cody's post SummerSlam plans are going to be. It just feels kind of obvious that he's going to beat Brock unless they try to, they try to protect Brock to where he's not losing again at SummerSlam or losing another major match, having Bray Wyatt come in and interfere, maybe right before Cody has Brock beat. Maybe he's got one crossroads, two crossroads, hits Brock with a third, and before he can pin him, the lights go out and Bray Wyatt appears or something like that. Maybe they do that. I don't know, but I'm not that optimistic about the possibility of a Cody Rhodes and Bray Wyatt program after SummerSlam. So that makes me a little bit nervous. After Cody and Brock's ordeal, we get that 5-minute challenge between Gunther and Gable. And holy shit, did I have this thing misread. WWE is so formulaic and they're so predictable that I was watching this without watching. I'm like, okay, this is a 5-minute challenge. Drew McIntyre is going to come out and cost Gunther the match or help Gable survive the 5 minutes. I don't think Gunther's going to be pinned or anything like that. I just think Gable's going to survive the 5 minutes, probably with help from McIntyre, but he doesn't. So I tweet out, all right, McIntyre's going to come out, cost Gunther the 5 minutes, and then Gunther will retain at SummerSlam. That's what's going to happen, right? Then we get the match. Gable survives the 5 minutes on his own. He doesn't need any help. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then Gunther gets on the mic. He's pissed. He gets on the mic and he demands more time. And I'm like, okay. So then I tweet, oh, okay. He's going to demand more time. And now Drew's going to come out and cost him the match, cost him the other 5 minutes. And then that doesn't happen. Gunther just flat out beats Gable. They go to commercial, come back. They have the match. He beats Gable with the powerbomb thing. And then he grabs the mic again and stands on the announce table to cut a promo. And I'm like, okay, here's where McIntyre is going to come out. First, I thought he was going to come out and stop the 5 minutes. Then I thought he was going to come out in the rematch, and he didn't. And now Gunther is on the table talking shit to Drew. Surely we're going to hear his music play. He's going to make a beeline to the ring. They're going to brawl. That's what WWE does, right? Not tonight. Didn't happen at all. Gunther said his piece. I'm going to beat you at SummerSlam, and that was it. No McIntyre at all. Drew McIntyre is all elite. He no-showed Raw tonight. No, I'm kidding. I have no idea what's going on there. All I know is Gunther better goddamn well retain that damn title on Saturday, or Greg is going to have a major, major personal problem. So that's all I want to see. I think if any match in the next month has a potential in both companies to have a double turn, that's the one I would do it in. I would love to see McIntyre just an uber-focused, vicious heel. Give him a chance to do that. You know, he's been a fun-loving babyface for 3+ years now, maybe 4. Yeah, I think having him turn here, Gunther also has so much momentum and so much, respect from the audience. Even though he's a heel, he's a very easy guy to cheer. And if you wanted to do a double turn, I would be cool with that. Having Gunther come out victorious, maybe McIntyre starting off the match playing it straight, but then realizing that he can't beat Gunther. And he's got this, he comes to this realization in his head, holy shit, this man's better than me. And the only way to save face is he's going to do what he has to do to win. So he's going to try to cheat, and that doesn't work. And then Drew, then the fans are starting like, oh, wait a minute, fuck you. And then throughout the course of the match, you can do the double turn that way. I don't know, but I think a double turn with Drew and Gunther would be fun if they were able to pull that off. But I'm also wondering if they try to do, another rematch. We got Payback to worry about as well. All I know is Gunther has got to make it to September 8th. I feel like if he defeats Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam, then it's a guarantee. If they're not going to take the belt, they're not going to end his reign at SummerSlam, you mean to tell me they're going to end that reign at Payback or on SmackDown just a few days before Gunther breaks Honky Fuck Man's record? No. I feel like if Gunther retains at SummerSlam, done. He will definitely become the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. It's now or never, so he's got to win this one. It's big. And he better. That's all I'm going to say. So then after Gable and Gunther have their deal, this is where we have the Becky stuff. So Becky Lynch comes out to cut her promo. She wants a match with Trish Stratus because she beat Zoe Stark last week. And I guess the stipulation there was if Becky wins, she gets a match with Trish, even though they never really said where this match would take place. We all just assumed it would be in Detroit. And Trish and Zoe come out, and Trish has got her nose guard on, and I have missed where this whole thing started. Maybe this was when I was on vacation earlier in the month, but I don't recall why Trish is even wearing that thing. Did they do something in a match where she injured her nose, and now it's just a callback to when she was doing that back in 2004? Because it's clearly like a kayfabe injury because she had makeup on her nose. Like you could even see it through the mask. I was like, is she really bruised and black and blue? But then later when she took it off, you could tell it was just makeup or whatever. So Trish and Zoe come out, and Trish is like, I can't wrestle you. I got a hurt nose or whatever. And then Adam Pearce comes out and says, oh no, we're going to make that match right now. We're going to make that match tonight. This match is happening, but it doesn't really get underway because both Trish and Zoe both attack Becky Lynch, and there's a brawl on the outside of the ring, and they beat down Becky, and the match is never able to happen, right? So then we go backstage, and Pearce approaches Trish and Zoe and tells Trish that I'm not going to surprise you this time. I'm not just going to spring this match on you. I'm going to give you plenty of time to prepare. It's going to be Trish Stratus versus Becky Lynch in 2 weeks on Raw in Winnipeg. And he goes, you're going to have the home field advantage. I mean, not really. Winnipeg and Toronto are not really that close together. That would be like saying somebody in Montana has a home field advantage if they're from Maine. But why is this not happening at SummerSlam? That's my question. Do we have any answer on that? I have not checked the twatters and checked any of the see what Sean or any of those guys have to say about it. But I'm curious what the reasoning behind doing this is, and if they are going to try to give us an impromptu type of match or something like that at SummerSlam. It just feels fishy to me, you know? Like, I almost wonder if, like, Becky Lynch at SummerSlam would come out to the ring, because you know she's got to be pissed, right? She got attacked. She thought she was going to get her match tonight. She got attacked, all of that. So she might not want to wait until Winnipeg. She might come out on Saturday and be like, no, this is bullshit. I'm pissed. Trish Stratus, get your ass out here right now. And I challenge you. And then maybe Trish comes out and they do a little impromptu type of thing at SummerSlam. But I don't know why they would do that. Why wouldn't they just have the match? Maybe they don't have time to do an entire women's match, so they're going to cut them to a segment and then give them the main event spot on Raw in Winnipeg. Maybe you tie in a retirement. Although if Trish retired in Winnipeg, that would be weird. I feel like she'd retire at the Toronto show. So maybe that's what this is still leading to. Maybe Trish is going to do another retirement, and they book a couple of matches to where it culminates on Raw, but I just don't know. I don't know what the point of this is. Kind of disappointing. I would assume that maybe somebody is hurt. I didn't see how physical Trish really got in this. But maybe Trish or Becky is a little banged up and they need to give them some time, you know, because we are going to have a pretty badass triple threat for the women's championship on SummerSlam. And you have a pretty good feeling that Ronda and Shayna is really going to deliver in a big way. You know, maybe they're worried that this match would stink it up. I don't know. Or maybe they're just trying to add a little bit more to this issue because it's been pretty underwhelming, the build, since this whole thing's been going on. I like both women. I like Becky and I like Trish. But something has just felt off about this. It hasn't felt like an interesting program. I thought Charlotte and Trish was pretty good a few years back. But Becky and Trish, I don't know. It's just kind of like meh to me. So maybe WWE sees that too, and they're going to kick it up a notch. And this is all part of it. I don't know, but just a little bit head scratching. Now, you're telling me that Shell Shock says she got her nose busted during the Money in the Bank match. Okay. So it did happen in the Money in the Bank match. So I saw that match. I just didn't realize that she got her nose busted, but it definitely looks like they're milking it. That was totally makeup on her nose. So I don't know how her nose is managing to get worse an entire month after that happened, but whatevs. We will see what happens with Trish and Becky. Main event of Raw was Rollins and Sami Zayn. Rollins filling in, I guess, for Kevin Owens, who is legitimately hurt. They did an injury angle for him last week to get him off of TV a little bit so he can heal up. It's going to be Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins taking on Dominic and Damian Priest. This has been our main event the past like 3 or 4 weeks on Raw, some variation of Judgment Day and Sami and Rollins, or all 3 of them, or all 6 of them. The finish of the match sees Priest with the briefcase. He sees an opportunity. Seth is down in the ring. He's vulnerable. He's dead to rights. Priest, I believe, is the legal man. And he gets tagged in by Dom, and he's like, holy shit, I might do it. Balor kind of grabs the briefcase and gives him a little hesitation. Like Balor wants to give it to him, but he's not sure. And then finally Balor's like, okay, go do it. Cash in. He doesn't really have a chance to cash in. Seth Rollins is able to fight back and hit Priest with a super kick. Sami Zayn then comes in and takes out Balor from the apron. Seth hits Damian Priest with a stomp and gets the win. Rollins and Sami are victorious, but that little tiny hesitation by Balor is what might have costed Priest a chance to actually win the title tonight. That's the way the announcers were phrasing it anyway. So that should just add to what they do at SummerSlam. And I'm not sure which scenario I want or which scenario might be better. I think it could go either way. I mentioned last week doing the deal where Balor beats Rollins and then on Raw gets cashed in on by Damian Priest, which means both times Balor beats Seth Rollins at SummerSlam for a championship. He coughed it up the very following Raw after. So that would be a fun story because Damian Priest would be taking something away from Finn Balor, and it would definitely solidify their split and probably the end of the Judgment Day as well. But what I think is more likely, since Judgment Day is still very over, still very hot, much like Adam Cole and MJF, you know the end is going to come at some point, but they might not want to end it yet. So if Balor is able to win the title, then you can continue to have Damian Priest be conflicted on what to do with the briefcase, or Finn Balor isn't the one that walks out of SummerSlam as champion. Damian Priest is. So maybe Seth is able to beat Finn Balor somehow, and then Priest comes in and cashes in. So Judgment Day still wins the world championship, but it's not Balor who does it, it's Priest. So I don't know which way I'd want to do it. I feel like Priest might be world heavyweight champion 1 week from tonight. I really do. I feel like it's possible that Rollins maybe gets the victory over Balor and then loses in the cash-in to Damian Priest, which means Rollins will then get some rematches against Priest, which backs up my claim that Cody is not really going to have a place in the world title situation after SummerSlam because it's going to be tied up with these three guys. So I feel like one of those two scenarios is possible. I feel like the World Heavyweight Championship could change hands at SummerSlam. I kind of think it should. I know Rollins hasn't had the title for very long, but the other champion has had the belt since Obama was president. So I think that we should maybe do a title change here, a cash-in, something like that. And it might wind up just flat out being Damian Priest cashing in on Rollins. I would be surprised if Seth Rollins makes it all the way out of SummerSlam, not only with his title intact, but not getting cashed in on either. I don't think Damian Priest would cash in on Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. Just doesn't feel, it feels completely out of place. I don't know how you would do that. There's just no way they would do that. The story is with the current World Heavyweight title. Priest has a briefcase. The World Heavyweight Championship is literally right next to him. His faction is feuding with the champion. His path to the World Heavyweight title is lit. He has one. He can see it. You know, getting over to Roman, getting in the middle of that Jey Uso shit, that would just be bonkers. Unless, no, there's no way. There's no way. But if you want the ultimate photo op for Monday Night Raw, Balor beats Rollins, Damian Priest cashes in on Roman, and that visual Monday night on Raw, Rhea Ripley with her title, Dominic with his title, and the two world champions. Holy shit. Nope, they're not going to do that. They would never do that, but it would be a hell of a visual, wouldn't it? And that's part of the reason why I thought Dominic won the North American title as well, is because if Balor were to win the title, that would give all members of Judgment Day a trophy, something to hold. You know, Dominic, Rhea, Balor all have championships, and Damian's got a briefcase. But if Damian cashes in at SummerSlam and he's the champion, that leaves Balor with nothing. And how does that work? You know, then does he want a match with Priest, or what happens? Is Judgment Day going to be on shaky ground? I don't know. I'm not really ready for Judgment Day to end yet because I think they're extremely over. They don't feel like a faction that's run its course. They feel like a faction that's been reborn after a rocky start there with Edge. And then when they dumped Edge, wasn't feeling like it was working either, but it ended up working. So you don't want to go too long. You don't want to overstay your welcome or anything like that. But I definitely think there's mileage still in Judgment Day, and I'd roll with it longer if you could. And factoring in a World Heavyweight Championship into that faction would be a good way to extend it. And I think either Priest or Balor will walk out of SummerSlam as the champion. That's my early prediction, but I'll let you know on Thursday exactly what I'm going to predict for that. Cash in on Austin Theory? No way. I think Priest is ready. I think Priest is. I would be fine if they attempted to make him a world champion. I'm willing to give him a shot. I think it's fine. Let's see here. Let's knock out some of these super chats before we get into some wrestling news. Deshaun Robinson, my friend, thank you so much, dude, for being here, and I appreciate your $5. I see Trish and Becky doing something like Rollins and Riddle last year at SummerSlam, where they had a brawl on the ramp and in the ring. That's right. I forgot about Rollins and Riddle, because weren't we thinking that was going to be the match for SummerSlam, and then we didn't get it, and they booked it for the next one, right? So yeah, I feel, and we did mention a scenario like maybe Becky's pissed. She comes out at SummerSlam. She wants a brawl, and maybe they do a spot. Maybe they have some sort of spot planned. A big bump, maybe a big special guest. Lita is somebody else that I've been wondering about, because Trish technically turned on her bestie and we never really got the payoff there. Have we seen Lita confront Trish about that attack yet? I don't think we have. So maybe Lita comes and gets involved somehow, and I don't know. Maybe they just run an angle, but I feel like Trish and Becky should do something at SummerSlam. It would be disappointing if they didn't. But yeah, you might be onto something there, Deshaun. Very possible. Let me see. Rodrigo, thank you for the $2, dude. What if Cody feuds with Braun Breaker after Brock? Now, Braun Breaker was another guy when I proposed this question last week. I said, what does Cody do after SummerSlam? I'm scared shitless about what Cody does, because it doesn't feel like he really has a place in the world title situation right now on Raw. And if Brock leaves, that's going to leave Cody without a program or a feud, which makes me real nervous that Bray Wyatt could be that guy. Braun Breaker could be another guy. We thought he was going to get called up earlier this year, maybe after WrestleMania, and he didn't. So if he gets called up and attacks Cody, their dads have history. Although I don't think Braun Breaker, I don't think they're going to want to draw attention to Rick Steiner right now on television, but Rhodes and Steiner, that's kind of cool. But again, Breaker, if he's going to, I feel like Braun Breaker is a big star. I feel like WWE has a superstar in him. So if he's going to burst onto the scene, feuding with Cody feels like it puts Breaker in a losing situation. Like I feel like Braun Breaker would come in and get a win over somebody else. Cody's still on the uprise. So it's hard. It would be hard to do that match. I feel like Braun Breaker would have to come in and maybe go after Seth Rollins, maybe attack him. Okay, that has not happened in a while, but I am sorry. We just lost connection there on OBS. I look fine now. I'm sorry for that. That definitely has not happened in a while. We're going to eyeball this. Hopefully everything will be okay, but we will continue here. Sorry about that, guys, but we're good. I want to do a big shout out, give a big shout out to my friends, A&B Convos, Wrestling Edition. Thank you so much for the $5. Hopefully you can hear me and I did not pause again, but thank you so much. Good evening, good mic work, and everyone in the chat. Don't forget to like the video, y'all. Go check out their channel as well. Great people over there. You stopped by and said hello to me at WrestleMania right outside of Staples Center. Very awesome for you to come over and say hello to me. Gracious greetings to you both, and thank you for stopping by, and love y'all. Appreciate the well wishes. And yes, please like my video. I really need these likes. It really, really, really helps. But thanks for being here, guys. Good to see A&B Combos stopping by. Let me see. Why did I block you on Twitter? I only block real big assholes, so you must have been one. Don't really know. Don't have really time to worry about Twitter right now. We're in the middle of a podcast. But let's keep moving here with a little bit of SmackDown. Let's just talk about SmackDown real quick before we get into some wrestling news, because a couple of weird things happened on SmackDown this past week. I'm not going to run through the entire results or the card, just the important stuff that went down, like the Bloodline stuff. So we had the big Roman Reigns and Jey Uso confrontation promo between the two. We've got the big, it's going to be tribal combat with Roman Reigns' tribal hood or tribal chief hood, my federale hood, his tribal chiefdom on the line here. And they had a pretty good promo. Roman, talked about how, Jey got his chance because Jimmy got hurt. And he says Jimmy respects me more than he respects you, his own brother. And Jey, hit Roman with a perfect line there. He goes, I've already beat you, and I'm going to beat you again at SummerSlam. And Jey kind of acknowledged that he sees weak points in Roman Reigns. And when Jey says he's going to beat Roman again, it was a perfect way to kind of end that. So that's pretty much all we got out of that promo. But what I liked the most was backstage. That was my favorite part, I think, of the entire episode of SmackDown, is Jey Uso backstage. He's confronted by Grayson Waller, this obnoxious dumbass. And Grayson, I guess, invites him to be on a show or something like that, and starts laughing. And the way Jey mocks his laughing was so funny. Just getting all on his face. It was great. Nailed him with a super kick. Grayson Waller, or a punch or something. Grayson Waller falls all backwards, and the two of them have a match later on. So it's Jey Uso against Grayson Waller. Roman Reigns is in the aisleway watching on. And Jey gets the win, beats Grayson. Nice little tune-up match for Roman Reigns. Solo hits the ring, immediately attacks Jey Uso. Jey fights back, super kicks Solo. That prompts Roman to get out of his seat and run into the ring, and he immediately eats a spear. However, Roman and Solo are able to regain control of Jey and overwhelm him, and they basically just kick his ass as the show ends. So Roman and Jey continue to impress. I'm really excited for this match at SummerSlam, even though I don't think WWE is going to do something crazy, like actually put the belt on Jey Uso, but they might. I mean, I think the wrestling world would shit its pants if they did that, but one thing you will have to remember, if WWE were to do that, it would make sense in the story. I mean, you follow this whole bloodline thing right from the start. These problems with Roman and Jey happened very early on. And Jey has been through one hell of a journey over the last 3 years. So if this thing all ended with him actually beating his cousin and becoming the new tribal chief and this whole thing, you know, it would really be about the story of Jey. And we've mentioned Jey Uso being the nucleus of this story for the better part of a year now. So really, when you think about it, it would make a whole lot of sense for Jey Uso to win. However, Roman, given the how much value he has as a champion, the level of star that he is, holding the title longer than anybody since Hogan is pretty remarkable and incredible. And when you have a title run like this that's so history-making that nobody is going to do again for quite some time, you know, this is going to be up there as one of the title runs that we talk about for years to come before somebody comes around that can possibly best this. But when you find yourself in this situation, you really want to make sure you end it in the best way and you get the most value out of that. And a lot of fans thought they missed an opportunity at WrestleMania 39, but an opportunity can still come. And that opportunity is still there. You can have Roman, you know, drop the belt in an epic way as long as you time it right. And what is the best way to do it? You know, it's kind of debatable. Would you, you know, like hypothetically, you stretch this thing to WrestleMania 40 next year in Philly. How many more months away is that? 7, 8? Holy shit, man. That's a long time to wait. We've already waited a long time. If you make it into WrestleMania 40 and then you do something like have Cody win the Rumble, and it's Cody and Roman again, even with Roman holding the belt as long as he has by that point, wouldn't you think it's an incredibly predictable match at WrestleMania 40, Cody and Roman? Predictable is not always bad, you know, but sometimes if you can see it coming for the better part of a year, it has a really good chance to fall flat. So would you rather see Cody Rhodes finish his story at WrestleMania 40 in Philly in one of the most predictable main events in WWE history, or would you like to see WWE kick you in the teeth when you're not even expecting it and ending Roman's reign 3 years after he returned and won the title and putting the belt on Jey Uso of all people? That would be shocking. You know, which would you prefer as a fan? Let me know in the chat. What do you think that would be better overall for wrestling? Maybe not your personal preference, but what do you think would be best for wrestling in general? Predictable main event showdown at WrestleMania 40 where Roman finally drops the title and Cody finishes his story 1 year after he tried to win it at that very show? Or, you know, do you do a surprising end to the run? Because not a lot of people are betting on Jey. Every other YouTuber doing their SummerSlam predictions, I doubt many of them are picking Jey Uso to win this. I doubt none of them are. Right? I mean, I'm sorry, I doubt any of them are. None of them are probably doing that. So if you did that, it would certainly be a shock. And I think if people would be initially mad about it, like if you have people who in their heads are telling themselves, oh, Roman shouldn't drop the title into him, because you ever notice in wrestling, whatever one person wants, that's what they feel is the best for wrestling. You know, that's what's so wrong. Somebody, I think it was Kyle from Apron Bump Podcast, I saw his tweet the other day. He put it perfectly. He's like, the mentality of this guy should win instead of saying, I want this guy to win, is pretty crazy. It's pretty wild in wrestling that's what we turn it into now. You know, the person you now root for is who should win. No, he should win. No, it's who you want to win. It's totally different. Doesn't really mean it's right or wrong. And I think those people that might be initially shocked or pissed that Roman Reigns dropped I can't believe they did that. Maybe when they settle down, they'll actually think about it and say, how in the world could you possibly not feel great for Jey Uso? I mean, this has been a hell of a story and a hell of a run he's been on. And to culminate actually winning the title from Roman, him being the guy to do it, not Cody, not Sammy. They didn't pull the trigger on Sammy. They didn't pull the trigger on Cody. And that's why a lot of fans think they're not going to pull the trigger on Jey either, because why would they? If they didn't give it to Sammy or Cody, Jay's going to get it. What if he does? What if he does? If he does, guess what? Now you've got another main eventer made. Because even though Cody hasn't really won the championship yet, he is a big star. It's hard to even debate that with Cody, title or no title. I still think Cody should win the WWE title. I still believe he will win the WWE title and build a championship legacy for himself. But even the fact that he's not there yet, he is still one of their top stars. He is top 3 in the company. It's probably Roman, Brock, and Cody. It is. So Cody's already there. Cody's made. Why not make another one? Because Cody at this point, based on his popularity in the company, the people he's working with, the people he's beating, he's probably going to beat Brock on Saturday. Him finishing the story, him winning the championship isn't going to make him. He's already made. Just going to make his story, and it's going to add to his story, and it's going to give him that Hall of Fame legacy. But in terms of main eventers they have in the company right now, he's already there with the title. So does he really need that title to become a bigger star? No, he doesn't. Jey does. Jey does. Imagine the impact of Jey winning that championship. Because if Cody wins the championship, it's going to be great. I'm probably going to shed a tear. It's going to be awesome. But after he wins the title, is the whoa part of his theme song by the fans going to be louder? No, because it's already as loud as it can be. But with Jey, you have now created yourself a main eventer. You've put yet another member of that family bloodline in and immortalized them in history as a world champion. And Jey's not even winning the Seth belt. Jey's winning the big boy belt. He's winning the big unified title, the one that technically has traces all the way back to Buddy Rogers. Jey Uso. And now you've got a main event. He's main event Jey. That's been his nickname, but it's never really been true up until maybe now if he wins the title. So I'm not saying Jey Uso beating Roman Reigns is the right decision. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just telling the fans, don't be so black and white on this, because if you feel one way, a lot of times you can ruin something for yourself, something that's really good. Because fans they always have to be right and shit. You ever notice that? I have a YouTube channel. I don't even care about being right. Fuckers with 32 followers think they got to fucking have everything nailed down and right. This is the way it should be. And this is why do you think this way? You should be trying to have fun here. That's the whole point. So if you feel like Roman should not drop the title until WrestleMania, fine. But can you at least do yourself a favor and entertain the idea? Don't cock block yourself on everything just because you're a stubborn prick. Actually think about it. What would be so wrong with Jey Uso winning the championship? How would it ruin Roman? Roman has already solidified him as one of the top champions of the modern era. Cody, I feel like should have won at WrestleMania 39. He didn't. I was disappointed. I went to WrestleMania 39. I was in the building that night. Everybody walked out very dejected that evening. But I can't go back in time and fix that. That shit's done. Dwelling on that is stupid. You got to look forward now. And you can't fix that. You can't go back and make Cody win that. So what's the next best thing? Waiting until WrestleMania 40 to do it again in that predictable scenario, as I just killed the bug, in a predictable scenario, or hit us in the face. I like being hit in the face. The one time in recent memory that I can remember being really hit in the face was Survivor Series. This guy is relentless, this little bug. Was Survivor Series in 2016. Goldberg coming back, 115 years old, going up against an unstoppable, invincible beast in Brock Lesnar. a guy that he beat at WrestleMania 21 in that shitty match. And in my head, I'm like, oh, it's going to be payback. It's going to be payback. Brock is going to eat this guy for lunch. Goldberg was already inferior to Brock physically back then. Now he's older. You know, I just thought that Brock was going to destroy him. And to see the squash go the other way, it was like, I wanted to be mad. It's like, oh, I can't believe they did that. A lot of people were like, he beat the streak. I can't believe they did that. And I wanted to have those emotions, but I loved the shock of it. I loved being absolutely floored that happened, because that happens sometimes in boxing. Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson, shit that you're not expecting. And it's just like, whoa, big upsets. You need that in wrestling sometimes. You need something to shock the shit out of you. And that did. Undertaker's streak ending had a kind of a similar effect. It's like, man, I want to be pissed about this. I don't think I would have ended the streak. But how many times have you gone back and rewatched that 3 count? Even though the streak ending felt like a pet died, I have rewatched the ending to that match probably 100 times. I don't even like to think about putting Bub down last year. When I think about putting a pet down, you don't want to relive that experience. So even though you're like bummed and there's part of your heart that's sad, the impact of that 3 count, the moment that created, the shock that came over us, you always remember that feeling that it gave you. And so WWE has a situation here where they've found themselves in this situation, where even though this is a SummerSlam match and technically Jey should have a really good chance to win the title, do fans really think he is? So if he does, it's going to be super shocking. And you have now created a main event star who wins the championship in the main event, because you know it better be, of SummerSlam, Jey Uso. And now you got another major star. Creating stars, that's what it's all about, right? So you have a star creating opportunity here. That's what I'm saying. And so if you have this idea in your head that Roman should drop the title a certain way to a certain person, fine, that's fine. But what is best for wrestling? What's best for WWE? They've got 2 shows, TV negotiations coming up. There's nothing worse than a filler SmackDown or Raw episode filled with repeat matches and people we don't give a fuck about. The more big stars, the better. The more main eventers, the better. And if you make a guy like Jey Uso, now you got another one on your roster. So if they did it, I would definitely be the guy in the review that night that would say, hey, I kind of like that they did that. Because I was able to recognize that in the Goldberg match. I was never a Goldberg fan. I didn't like him back when he was popular in 97, 98, when he was the champion. Just never really cared much for Bill Goldberg, ever. Hated his run in 2003 when he came in. Did not like him at all. Thought he had a bad attitude. Hated everything he said in an interview. He just seemed like a fucking jerk off. And then when he came back in 2016, it was way better. And he had that great retirement in 2017 that was supposed to be his retirement. Then he came back 65 times. But in 2017, after WrestleMania and his weird little shirtless kid, I loved all of that. I made peace with Goldberg. But even prior to that, I did not like him, and I was able to accept and realize how great the squash at Survivor Series in 2016 was. So if they did something similar, I'd say, what the hell? It's wrestling. What's the worst that can happen? Would WWE go out of business if they made this wrong call here? No. WWE's made a lot of decisions, and they have not pulled the trigger when fans thought they should have plenty of times in the past. And nothing has ever happened to them. They didn't go out of business, and fans didn't abandon them no matter what bad or good decisions they make. It never really truly affects them in the long run, especially when it comes to one specific match. So I would advocate for Jey winning the title. You'd hear no complaints from Greg. The other thing that happened on SmackDown that we should mention is what happened with Rey Mysterio. Santos Escobar and Rey had a match in the finals of that U.S. Invitational. Austin Theory was up in the skybox watching. And early on in the match, Rey does one of his dives on the outside. Escobar moves out of the way, and Rey just kind of lands flat on the mat in a bump that he's done several times, many times, and he didn't look like he landed on his head or anything like that, but he was slow to get up. Referee Jessica Carr winds up calling for the bell. Ray is unable to continue. Santos gets the win, I guess, by forfeit or injury stoppage. And it was just weird looking. So originally it was reported, I think Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful said that this was an angle. And then he corrected himself. He goes, oh, hold up. I've been told by sources that he actually was hurt, might have been a concussion. But when you look back at the match, I can't really tell where the concussion happened or if it was prior to that or what. But the whole thing was just weird. But Santos Escobar does now advance. He will face Austin Theory. And I think that match is next week, right? It's going to be on the SmackDown prior to SummerSlam. So it's not going to be on SummerSlam. So we will see what happens there. But best wishes out to Rey Mysterio. Hopefully he is okay. And whatever happened to him, whatever's wrong with him, hopefully he can recover swiftly and get well soon, Rey. So we will see. They also added that Battle Royal. So we've got a Battle Royal now added to SummerSlam. Help me out. There's a tagline, special name for it. But the main thing is, in the Battle Royal, LA Knight is in that. So what are they going to do now? If they're going to put him in this Battle Royal, don't put him in this Battle Royal if he's not going to win the Battle Royal. You're going to have 45,000 people or 50,000 people there in Detroit. LA Knight gets the loudest reactions outside of Cody, or maybe the loudest reactions in WWE, period. And you've got such a great opportunity to do something fun in Detroit at SummerSlam with him. He didn't come out at WrestleMania. They didn't do anything with him there. He didn't win the U.S. title invitational because I thought a match with Austin Theory would be great at SummerSlam for him to put him down and win the U.S. title. So if he doesn't do that, maybe they still have a big push plan for him and they're going to have him win the Battle Royal instead. I don't feel like this would do anything for his wrestling career in terms of advancing him towards title shots any more than the Andre Battle Royal did anything for Cesaro. And he was the first one to win that in epic fashion by body slamming Big Show over the top rope. This Battle Royal, you should have LA win just for the crowd, just for the moment that you will make, just for you guys, you dumbasses, to realize how ridiculously over this guy is. And if LA Knight, first of all, he's going to get his entrance, hopefully, at the battle. Hopefully it won't be too many quick entrances. He'll get his long entrance. He can talk his smack, and then he can win the Battle Royal, cut a promo. LA Knight, you'll have all of Motown doing that. It'll be an amazing moment. So I think that since that match is added, if these fools put him in the match and he loses, it's going to make me madder than when they sent Bobby Lashley out at WrestleMania with his WrestleMania trophy. I'm like, you fuckers had time for Snoop Dogg and Shane McMahon blowing out his quad, but you can't find something for this kick-ass, awesome badass to do since his other feud shit the bed that was supposed to happen with Bray Wyatt. You can't come up with something on the fly. You can't have him come out there and beat up The Miz or anything like that, or have some sort of a special match, or I don't know, come out and attack Brock, something like that. He just came out there with the stupid trophy and that was it. So I'd be amazed if they tease the audience, all those people ready to cheer for Knight, and they don't do it. I feel like that match might be built for him to win. Like maybe Triple H is like, all right, we got to do something with LA Knight. I don't really want him to win the U.S. title because we got other plans for that. So let's not do that. He's not on Raw, so there's no title for them to challenge for over there. We could just put him in a singles match at SummerSlam, but he's not really working with anybody right now. So maybe if they just create this Battle Royal, they might legitimately be creating this Battle Royal solely for him to win. Thank you. It's the Slim Jim Battle Royal. So first he gets the Mellow Yola Ass Boy match at Royal Rumble. Now he's going to get the Slim Jim Battle Royal. So maybe he'll get an endorsement deal out of it. Who knows? But Slim Jim Battle Royal, if LA Knight doesn't win this, then I am not going to have a whole lot of confidence that WWE has any intention of pushing him at all. They are literally going to let him come out there, get this great reaction from the crowd, and they're going to do nothing with him. I just don't feel like WWE has that mentality anymore. There was a time back in 2013, 14, 15, 16, it felt like Triple H and Stephanie and all of them were like purposely trying to disappoint us. I really feel that way. I feel like Triple H kind of got off on the fans being disappointed because they had us by the balls back then. There was no AEW. They were still, the McMahons were still in control of the company and all of that. Now we have competition. Now there's been a sale. Now there's a lot more people other than just Vince and Triple H and Stephanie getting their jollies. There's other people you have to please. You've got these insanely lucrative TV deals now where networks have to be pleased because, negotiations are coming up. There's so much more at stake. WWE doesn't have the luxury to fuck with us anymore, to where I feel like they would deliberately do that back then. Now I feel like if they're fucking with us, it's almost like they probably truly believe that they're making the right booking decisions. They're not trying to purposely disappoint the fans anymore. So now if they disappoint us, I don't think it's going to be on purpose is my point. Where didn't you get that vibe though? You know what I'm talking about? I think of that stupid promo on Raw where they said things are going to change and then nothing did. Triple H a few times in promos has said, if I don't get what I want, I'm going to complain online. Like I just feel like they've never really liked their own fan base, especially back in those days. And they were going so far out of their way to piss us off. And now I feel like they just they can't do that anymore. They can't afford to do that. If a guy's getting over, fans want a guy, they can make money off him, selling tickets, selling merch, all that stuff. They would be fools to not do it. Fools, complete fools. So I am of the belief that LA Knight is still going to have a push come. I don't know how much a Slim Jim Battle Royal can really elevate your career, but I think it's going to be more about the moment. I think it's going to be about LA Knight winning the Battle Royal and doing the LA Knight thing and get the whole crowd doing their deal and a moment for him. And hopefully that will translate into more stuff on TV where he won't just going back to doing what he's doing again. Or maybe he wins the Battle Royal and Bray Wyatt attacks him and they resume their feud, but this time LA Knight wins and puts down Bray Wyatt. That's probably not going to happen, but I feel like they wouldn't make this Battle Royal and put LA Knight in it if he wasn't going to win it. You know what I mean? We will see. We will see. SummerSlam is going to be good. We are going to be predicting SummerSlam this coming Thursday. Link is already up on the channel, so please check that out. Give it a like and save it for later. And then on Saturday, we will be up here to do a live reaction of SummerSlam. I decided to watch it with y'all, so I'm going to sit right here and just watch SummerSlam and let y'all know what's going on inside my brain when I do that. So hopefully you can join us on Thursday and Saturday. Links to both are up now on the channel. Let's transition into wrestling news. We have to talk about wrestling news. That was a lot of Raw, a lot of SmackDown, a lot of SummerSlam stuff. I want to talk a little bit about a couple of news tidbits. Excuse me. Also, I would really appreciate a thumbs up button on this video. Thank you so much. Do what you can for me, and Greg would be appreciative. Vince McMahon. We talked about Vince McMahon earlier on. We've mentioned his name a couple of times tonight. Apparently, he underwent spinal surgery during the week of July 17th. We don't really know the details on what the surgery entailed, but if you're having surgery on your spine, that is probably pretty serious surgery. So Vince has been on the shelf dealing with that. Now, if you do the timing on that, that's right around the time that Shotzi cut her hair off, and I thought that was a Vince decision. And if there's been any other questionable booking decisions in the past couple of weeks that fans have just automatically blamed Vince for, maybe you want to rethink that. Might not have been his fault after all. Now, we are no Vince fans here on this channel. I am not a Vince McMahon fan. I find it absolutely disgusting, his behavior. He's always been a goddamn weirdo, and he's been a detriment to WWE creative for a long time. And the best thing that ever happened to wrestling fans with him was him getting caught with the dick in the cookie jar, so to speak. So once the hush money scandal stuff started and he had to retire, to me, that was a glorious, momentous occasion because it got him out of the fucking mix. Triple H takes over. We see immediate improvements across a lot of aspects of WWE. Triple H is not perfect, but with Vince McMahon gone, it immediately improved in terms of attendance, storylines making more sense. Not all of them make sense, but they make more sense than they did with Vince in charge. and people who should have never been fired being brought back, names being restored. I still don't know why Butch isn't back to being Pete Dunne yet. And everything was just better. But then Vince kind of muscled his way back in and fans shit their pants. But again, I'm like, look, as long as that fucker ain't sitting there at creative, it's still a win to me. You know, fans get way more excited about being mad than they do being happy. And I'm like, I don't like the fact that Vince has pushed and weaseled his way back in any more than anybody else, but he is not ever going to assume the role that he had before. I just don't think that there's going to come a time again where he will be sitting there at Gorilla for all 6 hours of TV every week across Raw and SmackDown. It just doesn't seem likely that that's going to happen. So if he wants to make some decisions remotely and change some shit around and frustrate Triple H and Bruce a little bit here and there, fine. I've always said that. So my point being, Vince now with surgeries, he's getting older. The fact that he was just out, was going to make, I hate to say it, it's going to make waiting out his death easier. You know what I mean? Because as much as I don't like Vince McMahon, I'm not wishing him dead. I never did, and the problem with fans too is if Vince would have remained in control of WWE creative and things would have just been sucking for the past couple of years and things never improved and they're just as bad as they always were, you would have fans on Twitter every night, or X or whatever it's called now, hoping that Vince McMahon would die and just wishing all this ill will on the man, So for him just to be kind of out of the spotlight, out of the creative mix for the most part, just kind of giving his 2 cents here and there or making a really ridiculous change that doesn't need to be made, that doesn't bother me because it's still better than Vince at Gorilla every single week on TV. So now with Vince having spinal surgery, I don't want to celebrate his surgery or condition, but hey, at least that's probably knocking him on his ass for a few weeks. You know what I mean? Anesthesia, surgery, coming out of that, all the fucking medicine you're probably on. You're not thinking clearly. 2 days after spinal surgery, is Vince really going to be making changes to WWE creative? Is he that crazy? Actually, yeah, he is. He is. He totally is. He probably woke right up from surgery. He probably woke up in surgery with his spine laid open. Give me my phone, damn it. I can't even think of a fucking wrestler right now. I don't want Rhea Ripley to wrestle her or something like that. So maybe he is. I just think that Vince being out of commission is probably good news for creative, especially when you're building to your second biggest pay-per-view of the year in SummerSlam. So it's perfect timing on Vince's surgery because it might have allowed Triple H the freedom to kind of do what he wants here. So we'll see, how much we hear of Vince in the future in terms of him resuming work. I'm assuming he's in recovery for a while. If he returns to the office or returns to doing what he's doing, hopefully he's just kind of out of everybody's hair from a creative standpoint right now. But best of luck to Vince McMahon. Here's something interesting regarding Jade Cargill. Meltzer spoke on the latest Observer Radio about Jade Cargill's future in AEW and that there is a chance that she might not return at all. Here's what he had to say on the latest Observer, and I quote, nothing past she's considering not coming back is what she said, which was the last thing we heard. Nothing past. I didn't read this, or I didn't read this before I read it to you, so that sentence, I'm having trouble making sense of it. Anyway, she wanted to take time off. Sometimes I feel like, boy, it's like they pushed her and pushed her and pushed her and pushed her, and they never put her in the big matches. That's true. Then she's gone like a multi-year push, and yet they gave her that one belt, but she never. But I don't know if this is fucking Meltzer. God damn it. These transcripts are, I believe, from What Culture, and I am not going to try to muddle through this gibberish here. So I'm just going to read you bits. She never wrestled Toni Storm. She never wrestled Britt Baker. That's true. Almost like they kept them away from her. Now she's gone. So will she be back? She's got a storyline to come back to. Everything he says, it's always like, and I mean, they did, everything is like that. I mean, they didn't, she lost, but she lost in a way where she had a gripe, but she's gone. She never made the gripe. I don't know what the future holds for her. I don't know what the fuck you're saying, Dave Meltzer. So forget this whole entire quote. Let's just recap what Dave was trying to say here. She might not come back because when she was there and she was dominant, Dave is right. They did keep her away from a lot of guys or a lot of women, and they kept her away from Dynamite a lot. She was always on Rampage. Very few Dynamite matches. It felt like she was always booked for Rampage, and she developed that great record, that Goldberg-like undefeated streak. And then it came to an end with Chris Statlander, but I always wondered why they weren't putting her with some of the top women in the company. And at the time, a couple of months ago, when Jamie Hayter was champion, I remember thinking to myself, when they both were champions, I'm like, oh man, I would love it if Jamie Hayter kept rolling, kept dominating. Jade Cargill keeps rolling, keeps dominating, and they book the two of them in a Warrior versus Hogan style title for title match at All In. Both women are badasses. Both women are beating the shit out of everybody they face. They're completely dominant. What better match to do? But of course that was never going to happen. And then Jade, after she lost the title, maybe she wanted to just use AEW as a stepping stone. Maybe she has used this to make her some money, elevate her career elsewhere, use it as a way to get to something else in her life. We don't know. But if she didn't come back, I wouldn't necessarily blame her. You have to do what you want to do for you. And if you got what you needed out of this company and you kind of know what it's going to be like if you go back and you weigh your options and you realize life is probably better if I just don't go back. I would never in a million years fault Jade Cargill for that. And it's a shame that she never got to wrestle some of them. And if Dave is insinuating or hinting that, or suggesting that maybe she was purposely kept away from these women, it's possible, because we have heard about some issues in AEW's locker room. There's a lot of them that just don't get along with each other. It's a shame that Britt Baker doesn't seem to be very well liked, because she's with like the nicest dude ever, in Adam Cole. I've met the both of them. They're super nice. I like Britt Baker a lot, but we've heard about these, the issues in the women's locker room in AEW. There's a lot of drama there. So maybe that all played in to it. Maybe a lot of those women didn't want to work with Tony. If any of these women like Britt or any of them have a close relationship with Tony Khan, they could go to him and say, Tony, I don't want to work with her. And he keeps them away. It's very possible that politics are at play here. So if Jade Cargill does not come back to AEW, best of luck to her. But I kind of hope she does, because she does have a story waiting for her. She could go right back after the TBS title if she wanted to and regain it from Chris Statlander and be like, no, I never even lost that match. That was bullshit. She came out after I already had a match. So in my mind, I'm still 65-0 or whatever it is. And then she can just kind of go with it until they decide to put her with one of the main women. But I think if she does come back, she should talk to Tony Khan and say, look, if I come back, there is no reason why I should not be featured in programs with all of the top women based on what I have done here. So she's right. She should be working Brit or whatever, but it's tough in wrestling, and you're always looking out for your own career, and if I'm in the position of Britt Baker, I can understand why Britt doesn't want to wrestle Jade. She didn't want to get her ass kicked, and she, doesn't want to be knocked down a peg on the card. People are protective of their spots. If you're not protective of your spot, you don't care. So the only thing you can ever accuse Britt Baker or anybody in wrestling of really is not caring. Here's some interesting news kind of regarding AEW and WWE. So there's this YouTuber, Pierogi, I guess his name is. I've actually seen some of his YouTube videos. He's a guy that basically does scammer calls, like fucks with scammers, those horrible scammers, they call and take advantage of old people and tell them to drive to Walmart and buy a bunch of gift cards, and they take advantage and steal hundreds and thousands of dollars sometimes from really, really gullible, stupid people. Well, he's got a channel. There's a lot of channels that do this, and a lot of channels that have like millions of subscribers like his does, where they purposely target these scammers and turn the tables on them, wipe their hard drives and hack their computers and do all this shit. And I love it because I like karma videos. I like watching bullies get their ass kicked. I like stuff like that. So I always like shitheads getting what they deserve. So he's got a channel. There's a lot of other ones that are really successful, and I've watched a few of them, and it's fun. I mean, it takes a lot of time out of their day to do what they do, but they really, really fuck with these guys good, and it's always fun when they melt down and, freak out and yell and scream. It's just awesome. So you would think that someone with a channel like this that's out there doing this amazing work, annihilating these scumbags to the delight of millions of followers on YouTube, you would think this person should be pretty mature. But no. Apparently, the guy who runs this channel has got the wrestling Twitter mentality of a basement-dwelling womanless troll. So I guess he lives in Tampa, and I guess Christian was spotted having lunch with a WWE official who I think is John Cone, Nicholas's dad. I think that's who he was photographed with. The guy in the picture isn't the guy from the YouTube channel. Maybe it's his friend or something. But they're like at a restaurant. They spot Christian. They're stalking him, taking a picture of him without his consent, posting it on Twitter, and then tagging like Jim Cornette and like those bad faith botch accounts, AEW botches, and all these just shitheads, these fucking jerk-offs. I'm like, this is like the worst part of Twitter, man. This is like the angry, shitty, I have so much anger for everyone, therefore I have a ton for myself. And tagging them like a little obsessed dork, because that's what you see. If you see something that's a little bit embarrassing or a bad match on AEW, what do the sheep do? They all do the same thing. Tagging Cornette, tagging Cornette, tagging Cornette. They don't know how to do anything else. They can't speak for themselves. They can't think for themselves. These people think for them. And I always laugh at those people for being pathetic, loser, lonely shitheads. I wouldn't expect somebody successful, and who has a successful YouTube channel and is doing great work. I love watching scammers get messed with and get screwed. So I was just like, and it was like every other tweet, he was tagging these guys. It was almost like, hey guys, look. And I'm like, first of all, why are you doing this? Why are you posting photos of this guy without his consent? Oh, he obviously hates AEW. So he's fallen into that cult. I didn't know he was a wrestling fan at all, but he got online, probably heard some of what Jim Cornette says, and ooh, I like that. And then next thing you know, all of his thoughts are being processed for him by someone else. It's a whole goddamn army of them. So he obviously does not like AEW. So he sees Christian meeting a WWE official. Now, granted, I don't know what it's about. I don't know Christian's contract status, if this is considered tampering or anything like that, or if this is or what the fuck it meant. But if Christian really is meeting with WWE officials, I guess that he's using this to dunk, I guess, on AEW is what it is. Hey, look, your star is meeting with WWE. And it's like, I would just expect more maturity out of somebody with that success level. It's like the people are saying, AEW is never going to be as big as WWE. No shit. Like, what? Any fucking idiot with two eyes can see that. We're going to talk about Triple H here in a minute, Mr. Second-Rate Company. Yeah, we would expect you to say that. WWE is huge. They've been around for 60 years. They better be. They got billion-dollar TV deals. They just sold for nearly $10 billion. I would expect them to be bigger. It's not really a dunk. It's not really a flex, to point out that Coca-Cola is bigger than Cheerwine or, some other knockoff cola brand. Or the Dr. Pepper is bigger than Mr. Pibb, although maybe not that much, but you get my drift, So I found that to be gross, the fact that he's stalking this guy, putting his personal matters all over social media just because he's into this I hate AEW bullshit. It was just kind of shitty. So a lot of people are calling him out on it. And then, of course, what does he do? Oh, wrestling Twitter's too sensitive. They're the ones that are too sensitive. They're freaking out. I never underestimate the stupidity of wrestling Twitter. I'm like, you're being a shithead and you're being called out for it. And you're acting like we can't take it. I'm like, bitch, you are posting somebody's personal photos, basically stalking them, selfieing yourself with them. Ooh, look, leaving the restaurant to his car at the table, multiple pictures. Ooh, look, Jim Cornette. Oh, look, bad faith account this, bad faith account that. Ooh, look. What are you, 8? The fuck? Grow up. It's the most juvenile, childish shit. That's what I expect from the juvenile children that run rampant over wrestling Twitter, not from a goddamn adult. So I was just like flabbergasted that this guy had time for this, that this guy takes time away from annihilating these scumbag scammers to get on the side of some stupid fucking tribal wrestling war. You know, I was like, well, so you don't never judge a book by its cover, because somebody that you seems like has it all together is nothing but a little bitch ass troll on the inside. And it's sad when that happens. But anyway, leave Christian alone. I don't know what he's doing there. Maybe he's friends with what's his face. Maybe they're just having lunch. Maybe he was just catching up with an old friend, but this is stuff that probably happens all the time. Maybe it's just a little casual conversation. Because you can't stop that. You can't really police tampering, and if you're meeting in a public place and it's about business, this is something you could do via Zoom call or in a hotel room or outside of the public eye. So if they're meeting in a public place, maybe it was just one friend hanging out with another friend. Point is, you don't know, and you shouldn't be posting pictures and then tagging other people like a little bitch to show off what you found. It's just crazy to me. So anyway, I wanted to rant on that dumbass because, of course, now he thinks all of wrestling Twitter are crazy and he's the normal one. But whatever, that was weird. I don't know what it means. I hope it doesn't result in any heat for Christian. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? Like, is Tony Khan going to be like, yo, Christian, what was that about? I'm sure Tony Khan was tagged in that too, because if YouTube man here didn't tag Tony Khan, a whole bunch of fucking trolls probably did. Hey, Tony Khan, C-O-N, right? Wink, wink. Yeah, you got all your daddy's money. They just repeat the same thing. Like, they have no idea how just life works at all. So you expect that from a specific type of fan. But this one just kind of surprised me. So anyway, Christian was meeting with a WWE guy. He had lunch with a referee. Big deal, right? We will see if Christian winds up jumping ship, or maybe if he comes back from, maybe this is about Edge's retirement run or something. And maybe Christian is, wants to come in and do something. Maybe he's going to try to work somehow with AEW to be a part of that. Who knows? But Christian can't really do anything right now because he's the TNT champion. He's the champion. The reason I know he's the champion is because he has the belt every week. It's on his shoulder. So that means he's the champion, right? That's what I always thought. So anyway, Christian, sorry that happened to you. YouTuber, grow the fuck up. And we need to move on to our next topic, which is the Cody Rhodes documentary, which is available on Peacock today, but I have not seen it yet. Elizabeth and I are going to watch it later on here tonight. But there was a clip floating around social media today of Cody talking about his AEW departure. And we were wondering how much AEW stuff was going to be included here. And let me know if there's any other specific spots that I should be excited about seeing if you have watched this documentary already. But they weren't going to be able to show obviously any footage of any of Cody's AEW stuff, but him talking about his departure is something that I was curious about. And he did say, that's what we saw in the trailer when he said, I don't want you to edit this. It was about the AEW departure. And he said, I didn't leave there for any talent at all, or because of any talent. I left there for personal reasons. And those are reasons I'll never tell you because they're personal. And after he said that, they cut to Triple H, or Cody goes on to say, excuse me. He says, the byproduct of me choosing to leave AEW was that now, hold on. Tito almost took my camera for a ride there. So Cody says, the byproduct of leaving AEW is now I get to chase the very first dream I ever had as a kid. And then they cut to Triple H, who says, why he said something about the WWE championship. What kid grows up, thinking about winning a second-rate championship? The WWE title is the biggest title, basically calls AEW a second-rate company and their title a second-rate championship, which I thought nothing of. But apparently social media thought a lot of it, and it was a big topic of conversation, and it made headlines around wrestling websites. Triple H calls AEW a second-rate promotion. Is that what he called it? I forgot the exact verbiage that he used, but he used the term second rate as it applied to AEW. Of course he's going to say that. Why would you think he wouldn't say that? That's exactly what you would expect Triple H to say. If you are the head of the WWE, the biggest wrestling company in the world, that's been around for 60 years, that's already swallowed up every other piece of competition you have had up until this point. The only tape library you haven't really acquired is Impact. And they've done all of that for 60 years. And then this company comes around and forms in 2019, and they are 4 years old. I would call them a second-rate company if I was in Triple H's shoes, because I'm working for the big dog. We're the best. We're the biggest. They're second-rate. Their championship is second-rate. You know, Triple H is always going to throw shade. You know, I'm sure he meant it in a way to throw shade. Second-rate sounds like it's almost like inferior. It's not. They're the second biggest wrestling promotion in North America. That's not really that bad. You're just not WWE. Who is? You know, nobody's Coca-Cola either, you know, but there's a Pepsi, you know, and there's a Sprite. Well, Sprite is Coke, but you get my drift. We've a lot of talk about soda tonight for some reason. So Triple H saying that, I'm like, that doesn't upset me whatsoever. Like, that's exactly what I would expect Triple H to say. Triple H does like to troll. We've talked about Triple H being that way already tonight when he would yell, he would mock the fans on Raw. If I don't get what I want, I'm going to complain online, and me and my friend Mark are going to stop watching. Remember all that stuff? He loves to do this. He loves to take little digs. This isn't anything bad. This is exactly what I would expect from two competing wrestling companies, especially when one clearly is a larger company. And it's so funny the way fans whack off to this very, very simple fact. It's not, we all understand that WWE is a bigger company than AEW. And you constantly have fans showing differences in like WWE's ratings and their attendance. See, they got twice as much as AEW. I'm like, I would expect them to. They're WWE. They've been at this a long fucking time. They would look pretty bad. WWE would look terrible if a brand new wrestling company that's only been around for 4 years showed up and completely overtook them in attendance and ratings and overall dollars, numbers, and success. That's not going to happen to a company like WWE. So I don't understand these pointless dunks. Just like Captain Obvious dunks. I'm like, yeah, we know that WWE's bigger. So Triple H is only stating the facts as he sees them. I am running WWE's creative. We are the biggest game in town. Anything that's not us is second rate. You would expect him to say that. So I think the AEW tribals need to calm down, stop shitting your pants. And the WWE tribals need to stop whacking off over it. It is not a big deal at all. It's exactly what I would say if I was in Triple H's shoes. And I don't even think it was a newsworthy thing. Think about what other promotions have said about each other. Think about what Vince McMahon, the way he always looked down at Crockett Promotions and NWA and WCW. And they would never shut up about AEW being in a bingo hall and things like that. And the trash talk between promotions in the past, the heat, the bad blood, especially WWE, WCW, ECW, the things that Paul Heyman said about his competition, some of that competition he was taking money from and still shitting on them publicly. So Triple H saying this is nothing. Doesn't even faze me in the least bit. And anybody who was mad about Triple H's comment needs to lighten up, because competition is good. These companies are going to take shots. Tony Khan has said a couple things about WWE before. We've seen shots being taken on TV. Cody and the Throne, Triple H's pissant wrestling company comment at the Hall of Fame. Competition is fun. I like it. I don't want it to go away. And if competition offends you, you're a pussy. So grow a set. Triple H, can't wait to hear the rest of what you had to say on Cody Rhodes' documentary. Really looking forward to watching that tonight. Let's talk about AEW, though, because All In is coming up here at the end of the month. And on Collision on Saturday, we had an interesting show. A lot of CM Punk stuff went down on Collision. Before I do that, though, I do owe you guys some super chat responses. So let me briefly do that here and get myself reset. Okay, we're good there. All right. Let's knock out any chats that I missed earlier when I was flapping my gums. Okay, Stone Cold 10X. Appreciate this $5 from you earlier, my friend. The concussion likely happened when Santos dove outside and you see Ray hit his head. They showed the replay several times. 9 months till Mania. Okay. It was weird. I thought, so does that mean after he hit his head, he was still able to come in and do that dive onto the outside? Because that's when I saw him, when I saw them taking their time getting him back in the ring. So, wow. I just hope Ray's all right. Concussions suck, especially when you are at the age Ray is. That was the only one? Okay. I was thinking I was like 5 super chats behind. My bad. Worst AEW hater, Eric Bischoff or Jim Cornette? I don't know. They both have a stick up their ass about him. They try to be as objective as they can and pointing out some good moments here or there, but deep down, their audience tunes in to hear them shit on the company and for no other reason. So I don't really know which one's worse. Yes, the Juliet, good to see you. We are watching WCW Great American Bash 1998 on Sunday. Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman on that show. That was a wild time because the Bulls and the Jazz were in the fucking finals together, and then Bulls win, and then they have this match. It's a crazy time. I mean, WWE was starting to win in the ratings by that point, but WCW was still doing shit on Jay Leno's show and all that stuff. It was a wild time. So yeah, we're going to watch 1998 this week. Let's talk about Collision. Collision was in Hartford on Saturday, I believe in the same building WrestleMania 11 was in, right? I think this Collision was better than WrestleMania 11. We had a phenomenal ladder match between Andrade and Buddy Matthews. Holy crap. So this was our Backlash Women's Championship match, right? Rhea Ripley and Zelina Vega. We have Buddy Matthews and Andrade, although Zelina is with Buddy's stablemate, not Andrade, but she used to come to the ring with him. So there's all sorts of connections here. And a lot of people, you got Andrade, Buddy, and Malachi, all with their women in WWE. It's so crazy. So anyway, you talk about a hoss fight, all these like weird opinions of AEW just being small little flippy wrestlers. The fuck it is. These two guys are horses. My God, the shape they're both in. Andrade is looking ridiculously jacked. Buddy always is. And this match was just them beating the hell out of each other. They still had the great ladder spots. That sunset flip onto the bridge ladder, Buddy bounced. That was an amazing spot. Just the sheer hard hittingness of this match. Just the stiffness, the forearms, the knees. So much of this going on between two pretty badass dudes that I wouldn't want to tangle with. You see little Julia Hart out there backing up Buddy. She's got handcuffs. So the two of them handcuff Andrade to the ring ropes, which you would think would automatically end the match, right? If you've got your opponent handcuffed to the rope, all you got to do is get in the ring and climb up the ladder and you have won. But instead, Buddy goes to get a chair, I think, and as he comes back to hit Andrade kicks Buddy. Julia throws the keys up in the air and they land right next to Andrade. So he's able to uncuff himself and then he handcuffs Buddy to the ropes. So again, you would think this is going to end it, right? So he takes the keys, throws them to the fans, but Julia has got bolt cutters. She brings bolt cutters out there. Buddy starts to try to bolt cut himself off of there. Julia comes in the ring, climbs up the ladder, and you can tell they're setting up for a spot here because she gets up there face to face with Andrade. She's slapping him, and she's a young kid too, so you can tell she's a little bit nervous. Buddy is able to cut himself out of the handcuffs. He starts climbing or starts coming up on the ladder on the other side, and that's when Andrade shoves Julia off into Buddy, and the two of them go through a table that's bridged in the corner, and Andrade is able to reach up and retrieve his mask and get the win in a really, really fun ladder match. Collision, I got to hand it to AEW. It really does feel different than Dynamite. And my biggest complaint throughout the years with WWE, with Raw and SmackDown, is they don't feel like different shows. They feel like the same show with different lights. And I've hated that. Dynamite and Collision not only have a different kind of look to it, granted it's still a stage and a ring, you got a different vibe to the show. The matches are different. The talent is a little bit different. And there definitely feels like there is a difference in their identities. Now, I'm hoping they can sustain that. And it can continue to feel that way, because the longer it goes on, maybe, the two shows, just for streamlining purposes, will start to become similar again. But I think that right now, Collision is a really, really fun Saturday show. And they've been given kind of a rough time slot there, but the ratings have been holding. I didn't see what the rating was for Saturday because I don't think they're out yet, probably tomorrow. But, they're up there in the 600,000 range on a Saturday night. That's not bad. And anything over that is probably going to be pretty decent. And with matches like that, even if I can't tune in live, I'll be watching Collision every week. And I'm loving the Elton John intro. So great. Darby Allin had a fun one with Minoru Suzuki. Darby had an open challenge. Suzuki answered. We get a coffin drop countered into a sleeper, but then Darby rolls back for that Bret Hart Roddy Piper pin to get the win in that. Samoa Joe defeated Gravity. Gravity also had a match on Dynamite with Pac, which I'm convinced they only did so fans could make that joke. And the big news, along with the tag team title main event on Collision, was CM Punk's promo with Schiavone. So Tony's in the ring. Punk comes out, and he's got the red bag with him. And he mentioned the bag when he returned, and the title was in the bag. But he's never really brought it out yet. So first thing he does is he kind of mentions Wembley Stadium, and he acknowledges that, hey, am I the first wrestler to bring up Wembley? So now maybe we can finally start talking about this, because some fans have been complaining that we don't have any matches announced yet for All In. And it's coming up in a month. And even though you can feel like some of the matches that we're going to get, nothing's been officially announced, which is weird for AEW, because they're usually really good about having their ducks in a row with that kind of thing, really booking out the week's TV. They know what they're going to do. They know where they're going. So the fact that nothing has been announced for All In yet makes me wonder if they've been waiting for something else. We also haven't really heard how this is going to be available. Now, it was announced yesterday that DirecTV and maybe another platform is going to be providing All In and All Out as a standard pay-per-view. But no word on Fight yet, or any other streaming platform or anywhere else where you can buy this, if there's going to be like a package or a bundle deal, which I really hope there's going to be for All In and All Out. And I was really hoping that it would coincide with, a streaming deal to where maybe we could even watch this for free or something like that. But no, it is going to be a pay-per-view. But so far, it hasn't even been announced in terms of being available everywhere. I watch on BR Live. That's where I watch all my AEW pay-per-views. So I'm hoping it's available there. But if not, I'm going to have to figure out a different way to watch it as well. I'm sure they will figure it out, but I kind of feel like it should have been figured out already. There's 80,000 people set for this show. They've sold about that many tickets. It's going to be a huge show. You don't want to just throw this thing together. You know what I mean? So Punk mentions Wembley. He does that first. Then he mentions the bag, pulls the world championship out of the bag, his AEW world championship. He calls himself the real world's champion. He said, this thing has my name on it, and it has my blood on it from when I beat Jon Moxley in September for it. And I am the real world's champion because nobody has beat me for this. And then he takes out a can of spray paint, black spray paint out of the bag, lays the belt down, and spray paints an X over the belt. And coincidentally, the X went right over perfectly the E in All Elite Wrestling. And I don't know if it meant to do that, but it was almost like he was putting an X through the E. And then he goes, this is my logo. It means I am straight edge, and it means I am better than you. And basically crowns himself as the real world's champion. So then Ricky Starks comes out, and it was hilarious when he comes out first with the mic. He interrupts just on the mic coming out to the aisleway, and he goes, no, truck, do my entrance. Y'all pretend like you never see me. And then he runs backstage, and then they play his music, and he comes out, and Nigel wow, it's Ricky Starks. What a surprise. Hilarious little bit there. He comes to the ring and he says, hey, that belt is mine because I did beat you. I beat you twice. I beat you in the Owen Hart and I beat you in the tag match. And he basically says he wants a match with CM Punk. And Punk says, okay, but since you've already cheated to win because you're a cheater a couple of times, I'm going to want a special referee. And that was kind of odd. So Ricky agrees. And then Tony Schiavone, I think Punk asks him, he goes, do you want to tell Ricky who the special referee is? And Schiavone announces that the special referee for Punk and Ricky Starks next week will be Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Out of nowhere. Didn't see that coming. Completely random name. We've been getting random shit happen all week because on Dynamite, Jerry Lynn came out for some reason. So now next week, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is going to be the special referee for CM Punk and Ricky Starks. So that's completely random. And I don't even know what it means. Probably nothing. Just a way to get a legend on TV and add something to the Punk and Ricky Starks match. That's kind of cool. It'll be fun to see Ricky the Dragon Steamboat next week. But what's interesting the most about this whole thing is the shit with the belt. Now, Punk proclaiming himself as the real world's champion, is this their way of kind of doing a soft brand split where you actually have a champion on each show? Because Max, he did this on the same show that Max was on. Now, granted, him and Adam Cole had to focus on their tag team title match, but the fact that MJF didn't say anything about this shit all night didn't really make sense for his character. You know, at least like when he was coming to the ring, get on the mic and say something, or maybe look at the camera and say, Punk, I'm the real world's champion, bitch, or whatever. But the fact that Punk was able to say all of that and MJF got no retort, he probably will have a response on Dynamite because I think he's booked for Dynamite 200. But the fact that he said nothing about that was kind of weird. And now I'm starting to wonder if they're going to do Punk versus MJF at All In or All Out. Could we see some sort of a title unification between these guys? Now, you got to remember, All Out is in Chicago. So if you're going to do this Punk and MJF match, what venue would be best? In Wembley or in Chicago? And if you do it in Chicago, for example, then what does MJF do at Wembley if he hasn't broken up with Adam Cole yet? Because I think weeks ago when this whole Adam Cole and MJF thing started, we all just assumed that it was going to be MJF and Adam Cole at All In or All Out. That's what they're going to go with here. But maybe when MJF and Cole started getting over, way beyond what folks were thinking they were going to do, they decided, oh, let's slow it down and we can do something else. And that's maybe when Punk brought the belt back out. Because if you remember, he brought it out in his return, but I don't think he's been coming out there with that bag every week, has he? I don't think. Maybe he has. But I feel like this is the first time he's really mentioned the bag since then. So maybe it was a recent decision. Oh, hey, since Cole and MJF are getting over, we're going to hold off the split. And instead, we'll pivot and we'll do you guys at All In and stretch out MJF and Cole or something like that. I also feel like, based on what we would see in the main event here, that we, like I said earlier in the beginning of the podcast, that maybe Adam Cole is the one doing the manipulating here to MJF, because in the main event, they would face FTR for the championship. And all week long, there was a lot of discussion of what kind of finish they do here. If you do the split, FTR can retain the titles and then MJF and Cole can, have their breakup. But I think a lot of fans were thinking that you had to have the breakup in order for them to not win the titles, when you could really have both. And the finish was pretty good here. FTR's got Adam Cole set up for the Shatter Machine. MJF runs in and pushes Adam Cole out of the way to take the bullet for him. They lift him up in the Shatter Machine, but he counters and almost gets the upper hand until he's rolled up and pinned by, I think it's Dax who rolls him up. I can't remember. It was Cash or Dax who rolls up MJF for the win, and they retain the title. So MJF saved his friend, but wound up losing the match for the team. And he was in the corner, and he seems really dejected, and he felt bad, and he was apologetic to Adam Cole. And Cole even had his belt, and he handed him his belt. He goes, "Don't worry about it, man. You're still the champ." Trying to comfort his friend. And then there's this little moment between them, and that's when Adam Cole gets up and he walks to the corner with his back turned. And he basically says, Max, do it. Do what you got to do, Max. Do what you got to do. And Max is, he wants to, and he throws it down and he just can't do it. And the two of them share an absolutely marvelous hug to the delight of the Hartford crowd. It's WWE territory marking out for this stuff. And I loved all of that. It was a beautiful moment. And I love how MJF is showing some depth, because he's been really one-dimensional asshole, 100% full, gas pedal to the floor asshole. As big of an asshole as he can possibly be, that's his goal every day. And so to see the guard being let down a little bit, to see vulnerability, to see him legitimately sad, because throughout MJF's wrestling career, him using all these people, most recently Sammy Guevara in the Four Pillars match, the how he used his Pinnacle and used Wardlow. He's used everybody to get what he wants. And this time, it does, unless he really is pulling off the performance of a lifetime, this time it really does feel like his character feels like he has a friend in Adam Cole. They teased that during the video game thing. Well, you've never played a multiplayer game? And MJF's like, well, you have to have a friend to do that. Just slight little teases of, there really is a human underneath there. And unless MJF is, like I said, really pulling off the performance of a lifetime, but Adam Cole is no dummy. Adam Cole is a veteran. Adam Cole is well aware of what MJF is capable of doing. And when it comes to being nasty, Adam Cole is an absolute sweetheart of a human being on his Twitch channel, but in his wrestling career, he's nasty. And I think he almost prefers being nasty. So he's not fucking stupid. And there's no way you would think that Adam Cole is going to fall for MJF trying to manipulate him in order to keep him away from a title match. And MJF surprised me back on Wednesday when he told Cole he's going to give him a championship shot. And I'm like, well, I thought the whole point of you being friends with him is to not give him a championship match. And now that you've offered one to him, like I said, unless this is all part of a really big master manipulation and MJF is perfectly anticipating these scenarios of how Cole is going to react, it feels like MJF really is starting to truly care for Adam Cole. So I think it would be fun if all this time Adam Cole is like, I'm not going to let this guy do to me what he's done to so many others. The shoe's going to be on the other foot. I'm going to be the one to manipulate him. And maybe it's Adam Cole turning on MJF. And maybe you find yourself in a situation where the fans actually have sympathy for MJF. If he gets turned on by Adam Cole, you could do a double turn there. You definitely could with Adam Cole and MJF. I think it would be awesome, but I feel like they're going to wait a bit until they do this because of how over it is. And so they were able to get out of this tag team title match without winning the championships and without breaking up, which means now MJF is free and clear maybe to have this match with Punk. Like he's promised a match with Cole. So now maybe Cole is going to turn down the offer. Max, why don't I help you deal with CM Punk first or something like that? And MJF then maybe wants Cole to help him beat CM Punk. MJF's a heel, Cole's a babyface. If Cole tries to tread over to babyface territory with MJF and cheat against CM Punk, and we all know how CM Punk feels about cheaters, that could set something up with Punk and Adam Cole in the future, which would be crazy fun. So there's possibilities out the ass here with Cole, MJF, and CM Punk. And now going into All In, when you combine Punk mentioning All In and even saying, and what's in the bag has a big something to do. What the hell did he say? What's in the bag factors into All In Wembley Stadium. Between those two comments there, pulling the title out, calling himself the real world's champion, you should just do MJF and CM Punk at All In, and maybe it's a champion versus champion scenario. So if you do it there, then what the hell do you do in Chicago for All Out? This is all very confusing, and it's hard to wonder what they're going to do. Maybe that's why it's taken them so long to actually announce a card, because they don't even know what they're going to fucking do yet, but they better figure it out. These are the type of things I'm used to saying about WWE. Back in the day, man, they didn't have any clue what the hell they were doing. We'd be on a go-home Raw with one match announced for a pay-per-view. Like, it would really be that way sometimes. Raw would be starting and we wouldn't have a single match announced. It was a mess back then. So with AEW trying to figure out All In and All Out, maybe they're trying to have both cards booked, or maybe one card affects the other. Like, I don't know how you book All Out before, you book All In. So I feel like All Out could be booked on the fly. I just don't know how you book that, unless you have one show that's kind of Dynamite heavy and the other that's kind of Collision heavy. But I think in Wembley, it just needs to be AEW heavy. Everybody needs to be on that show. All your biggest stars need to be on the Wembley card. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but it feels like MJF and Punk is what they're going to do at one of those two shows. So if that's the case, then Adam Cole being factored into that, still with his friendship with MJF. And then at some point, maybe he turns on MJF. Maybe he turns on him and costs him the championship or something. I don't know. There's a million different ways you could write it. A lot of ways would be cool. I feel like there's very few ways to fumble this. So hopefully Tony Khan and CM Punk and Cole and MJF and all these minds are getting together and coming up with something pretty fun for the month of August. We will have to see. Dynamite this past week, not going to mention much about it because it was like a week ago, but we did see the Jungle Boy promo where he's running down Hook and Taz and the FTW title and ECW. And then Jerry Lynn comes out of nowhere and gets in Jungle Boy's face, defends ECW, and then Jungle Boy, this is so stupid, he's like, okay, well, how about next week you come back out here to this ring and you see who gets their ass kicked. And Jerry Lynn's like, okay. But Jerry Lynn is retired. He retired 10 years ago. The match for Dynamite that they're promoting isn't a match. It's a face-to-face confrontation. That's all they're promoting on the Dynamite graphic, is a Jungle Boy and Jerry Lynn face-to-face. But isn't that what you just did? You just did the face-to-face. Why didn't they just have the little fight right there? Because Jerry Lynn, I don't think, can work a match. I think he had to retire due to injuries. So I don't think he can really work a match or take bumps. So what are they going to do here? I'm wondering if it's just a way to get somebody else out there, or does somebody come in and take his place? There's not many ECW originals left. Everybody's old or dead. So what about bringing in somebody like RVD, who had classic matches with Jerry Lynn back in the day? Maybe Jungle Boy is getting in Lynn's face and Lynn's like, I'm not medically cleared to have an actual sanctioned match, but my friend is. And then Rob Van Dam comes out and has a match with Jungle Boy, and maybe Jungle Boy beats him. I don't know. But that whole thing was weird, and now it's going to carry over into this week's Dynamite, where Jerry Lynn is going to have some sort of a fight or something with Jungle Boy. We will have to see. Now, Britt Baker and Taya Valkyrie also did not have their best outing on Wednesday night. And after the match, the camera focused on a sign in the audience that says, "Book the women better." And there was a lot of talk about the women's division in AEW that has really struggled. It seems like ever since the beginning, they got better with the talent. At first, it felt like the roster was very thin, with Riho and Nyla Rose and a few others that were very good, Serena Deeb, but not much else beyond that. And then they added depth. And then they were bringing people in, and Ruby Soho and Saraya and Toni Storm, Taya Valkyrie, Britt Baker gets on the map, and Thunder Rosa had that great year before she got injured. And things were getting better, but still overall, the women struggle to get representation on the show and on the pay-per-views and getting long matches, the same type of stuff we saw in WWE before they got their act with the women together, back when it was still the Divas title. And every night on Raw for years, you'd get 1 minute, 2 minute, most of the time less than 3 minute matches every single week with the women. If a match went 4 minutes long, it was long. That was a long match. That was an Iron Man match for the Divas back in the day. And it felt like WWE didn't care. They just threw them out there because they had to. and they put no thought, had no life into these women's angles at all. It was still a lot of just the tits and ass and stuff, but even beyond that, they just didn't care a whole lot. And we've had these criticisms before about a wrestling company, so it's kind of funny to hear us repeating ourselves all these years later, only about somebody else. So I think a lot of it, I don't know how you rectify any problems with the women's division. Maybe you put somebody in charge of the women's division. I don't know how you do that or what, but maybe Tony Khan needs to take the responsibility away from himself, because maybe there's personal relationships and politics, and put somebody in charge of the women's division. And, kind of like a Bill Watts type of person, to where they just, lay down the law, and then Tony's like, it's out of my hands or whatever. But it sounds like the locker room has a lot of issues. It sounds like there are some toxic elements to it. And instead of placing blame anywhere specifically, because I don't know, I just hope that it gets better. Britt Baker the other day responded to some stupid troll account. I don't think she really understood that the account she was responding to was a fucking asshole, but she felt the need to defend herself about a quote taken out of context a couple of years ago, how she talked about, I don't believe women should just be models being put out on TV, taught to wrestle. And she's kind of been defending those statements a lot lately. And then you add some of the hate and heat that she got, and Taya Valkyrie, people being extremely just crass and vile, rude shitheads, with the insults, all because you didn't like a wrestling match. Grow the fuck up. But still, I think the fans, much like back in the day in WWE, want an improvement in the women's division in AEW. They really want to see these things happen. So I think with whatever's going on there, changes need to be made. There's a lot of good people in AEW, behind the scenes. They've got great agents, great producers. I would like to think they have the infrastructure back there to be able to sustain a women's division and keep everybody is on the same page as they possibly can be, and try to end some of the pettiness, the cattiness, all of that tends to exist in women's locker rooms. We've heard about this throughout the years. Same thing happens in WWE with Charlotte and Becky having their problems. It's everywhere. So you hate to see that happen in AEW, because there are a lot of talented women there that I feel like just aren't getting a chance to shine because of all this bullshit happening. So I think that's something they need to work on. We talked about Pac versus Gravity. Pac beat him with the group brutalizer, finally getting revenge on him for forgetting him. We got an interesting match coming up next week with Jericho and Takeshita taking on Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia, two members of the JAS. Now, Callis has been trying to recruit Jericho, even presented him on Dynamite with this like oil painting of himself and Jericho shirtless with Bad News Allen behind him or something like that. So he's been trying to recruit Jericho. Jericho's been lukewarm to it, but I feel like now Jericho's probably not going to join. But then again, just to keep the JAS going, enough with the JAS, Inner Circle had a run. All these things had a run, unlike Judgment Day in WWE. This one feels like it's ran its course. I feel like you could just disband the JAS now if you want to, but I don't know where all this is going to lead. But next week we're going to get that tag match, and we might get some indication there. And there's also been some talk about Jericho working with Will Ospreay at All In instead of the Ospreay and Kenny Omega match that we thought we were going to get. So Jericho doing this stuff with Callis is making me think the Ospreay shit is going to tie into that, which is why I don't think he's truly going to join Callis's family. Also on Dynamite, we saw AR Fox turn heel, join the Mogul Embassy. He lost to Orange Cassidy earlier on in the night, but then interfered in the Swerve versus Darby match and helped Swerve get the victory there, turning heel and joining the Mogul Embassy. Looked to be an okay episode of Dynamite, which I think pulled in about 900,000 viewers, so not bad. Next week, or this week, in 2 days, I should say, on Wednesday, Dynamite 200. Here's what we have on tap. Hikaru Shida challenging Toni Storm for the AEW Women's title. We have Kenny and the Bucks taking on Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, and Satnam Singh. We have an ROH title match, tag title match, Aussie Open. defending against Vikingo and Commander. We have that weird Jungle Boy and Jerry Lynn face-to-face thing. We have Jericho and Takeshita taking on Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia. And we have Moxley and Trent and Penta in a triple threat anything goes match. So looks to be pretty fun night of wrestling on Wednesday. We will be talking about this Dynamite on Thursday because we'll be up here doing SummerSlam predictions. And the link to that video is already up on the channel right now. You can save it for Thursday. We will talk about Dynamite. We will review the Cody Rhodes documentary that I'm going to watch as soon as we're done with the stream here. And we will predict SummerSlam. And the last little tidbit I thought noteworthy in AEW was Big Bill and Brian Cage winning a battle royal on Rampage to earn them a title shot. That scares me because I'm loving the team of Big Bill and Brian Cage. I think they're great. I don't, or maybe that was for a Ring of Honor title shot, tag title shot, not AEW. I actually didn't catch that, but I want to see FTR. Somebody mentioned to me that FTR might be trying to hold the championships for a year as a tribute to the Briscoes. So maybe they have a long run ahead of them here. So I kind of feel like they should be surviving their next couple opponents at least. So if it's for the AEW titles, I feel like FTR should win, but my God, what a size mismatch there. Let me go back to the chat here. There's some guy, well, Bully Ray, Raven, well, Terry Funk can't do anything. None of these guys, Sabu, we did see just come in for a payday and take his table bump. Sandman, no, absolutely not. McFoley, no. Taz is on commentary. No, there's nobody left. My point is nobody left to come out and do anything significant. You could bring out Bully Ray, but I don't think Bully Ray and Jungle Boy would really be a good fit. Oh, okay. Thank you, Barry. RVD is signed with WWE. So what, he has a Legends deal? Yeah, and a lot of those other ECW guys, some of them might be under WWE Legends deals, which would prohibit them. And I know Tony Khan is a big ECW fan. He was a big mark for them. I get it. But there's just nothing left of that promotion. I was a big ECW fan. But even I do not need to see any of these guys. I did not need to see Sabu at Double or Nothing. I'm fine with Taz on commentary because I like him. But, you know, Sandman's a fucking mess. Bully Ray is okay, but he's doing his own thing as well. He's still Impact with doing shit with them a little bit, right? Tommy Dreamer, again. But all these guys are just old, man. It's over. I felt like it was over in 2007 when WWE was still using the ECW guys and they had that match at WrestleMania 23. And I'm like, Sandman in 2007, I thought those guys were past their prime then, much less 23, 16 years later. It's crazy, man. So I don't know. Tony Khan likes ECW. I get it, but there's really not a whole lot left of that company. And if he really likes ECW, he should try to offer Paul Heyman a job if his contract ever comes up. Okay, Legends deal. Thanks, Barry. See, that's why you're here. Yeah, they might do Taz versus Jungle Boy. Is that what they're going to do? Because I feel like Jerry Lynn on Wednesday is just a smokescreen for something else, or a red herring, or whatever you call it. So I feel like since he can't even take any bumps and can't have a match, what the fuck is he going to do? That they would actually promote a week out this confrontation, because you just had a confrontation in the ring. You could have done your ass kicking right there last week. So in order to postpone this another week means you have to have something planned, right? Maybe Taz jumps off a headset and says, fuck this, I'll fight the bastard. And that could work. You know, it got Christian a ton of heat fucking with Jungle Boy's family. Maybe he will take a page from that book and start messing with Hook's family and beat up Taz. We will have to see, because I feel like Jungle Boy should probably drop. What I would do is after Jungle Boy holds the title, I would actually have Hook win it back and then retire it or something. Maybe not. I feel like they might keep the FTW title around. That would be a good tribute to ECW. And that's kind of what they're tying in here too. If Tony is such a big ECW mark, you know, this could be his little way of tributing them. That's a piece from their history that he now has on his show as a mainstay belt. Might mean something to him. I could see that though. Do a Heath Slater deal. That could work, Zane. Undertaker to be at SummerSlam, is that something that's been confirmed? Right, I'm just reading through the last of these comments here before we get out of here because it's been a long podcast. I told you on Monday nights we might be hanging out here pretty late because I have a lot to catch up on. And still, still everything that we talked about wasn't everything. It was just what I deemed podcast worthy. So that should do it for tonight. Thank you so much for being here this evening. It was a long one. We will be back on Thursday to predict SummerSlam. Like I said, we will also review Dynamite 200 and I will talk about the Cody Rhodes documentary. So you guys keep a lookout for that this week. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy NXT tomorrow. By the way, we were up here last night watching SummerSlam 1988 watch along, and we were also watching NXT Great American Bash, keeping our eye on it. So Dominic retained his title, and Carmelo Hayes retained his, but I think we crowned, and Tiffany Stratton retained hers, and we did crown new tag team champions, I believe. So we kind of eyeballed Great American Bash. Thanks again to everybody who joined in last night as well. Y'all take care. Have a good next couple of days, and